the vast forest of upstate New York lies Watkins Glen, where one of the most storied combos in series history makes a return in favorable fashion tonight. The virtual Watkins Glen International plays host to the fourth race of Season 7 as we welcome you to the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital and the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge. Live on Podium Esports, we're so excited to welcome you back to our coverage. We're alongside Dylan Black Sheep Connolly. My name is Kenneth Doofenshmirtz. Bueno, well, happy Halloween to those watching, at least a happy early Halloween. And Dylan, we get to get a little spooky here with a combo, though, that is familiar to these Monday Night Racing drivers. Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen, we have seen it many times before, countless times, over and over. It brings us some of the best racing we've seen in this series today. Tonight might be no different.
You know, this has the big possibility to have some bad accidents here this evening with as many different passing zones and places you could pass and wreck on the track. But I've been looking forward to this one. It's kind of mix it up. You know, it's been normal, just NASCAR stuff on regular cookie cutter, or I say cookie cutter, but just normal tracks. But it's a little out of the ordinary. It's Pro 2s at Watkins Glen, and it should be a good one tonight.
We've had a lot of different challenges so far presented to the drivers in the season schedule. We kicked off the season with the IR01's ridiculously fast cars at the Brickyard. Then we went to the next gens at Daytona, a little more typical, but still chaotic in its own sense. And then we brought strategy and discipline into the mix with Gen 4s at Michigan. Tonight, the Pro 2 trucks make the return to Watkins Glen, and we've got a stellar schedule leading all the way to December 11th, the beginning of our playoffs at Homestead Miami Speedway. But Dylan, you look at this schedule, and again, a lot of things are very different. There are combos like this one making their return like usual, familiar combos, but you've got all the other ones past it that are brand new to the series. Drivers that kind of have to get acclimated with the new temperature, the new atmosphere of Season 7 as a whole.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could go wrong in a lot of these combos. You know, anything with the Gen 4, you know, a lot of guys will have to, you got to wheel that thing. It's not just your basic ARCA car. It's not just anything that's very similar. It's kind of probably most similar to the 87 car. It's real fast. It doesn't have just a whole lot of grip, but it's going to be a good combo for those. You also have Pro 4s at Wild West. A lot of things that are kind of by the book. Now you have a few curveballs thrown at you, like GT4 at Long Beach. We'll see who can really drive in that one. MX5 at Daytona, and then I really think any of the Gen 4 races, anyone could win those.
And you look at the drivers on the right side of your screen, the three different winners we've seen so far in Season 7. Nick Olson grabbing his first career win at Indianapolis, Adam Cabot returning to victory lane, and then Corey Heim, defending series champion, back on the throne after winning at Michigan. Dylan, we've seen three different races, three very different outcomes, and three very different drivers getting to victory lane. So how open is this race in particular to adding a fourth to that list?
You know, I'm just looking at a lot of times in practice. You know, I really think anyone that's turned a decent amount of laps in this could win it. I mean, you have basically the top 15 or 16 or so that are within a second of each other, which at Watkins Glen's a very interesting track. There's places, if you mess up, you can make up time in other parts of the racetrack. But I mean, I think anybody that's going to start the race has a chance to win tonight.
And one thing about this configuration, it is bad fast. Last time we were here, it was with the boot included, so a little bit of a longer lap. Different cars, of course, but we're going to hold with the NASCAR-style configuration here at the Glen. We are still racing for the Season 7 playoff. Of course, the regular season is going to add all the way up to that. We have consistency over the races, and Dylan, every time we bring it up, again, it still is intriguing. Each of the drivers will be seeded 1 through 16 on a bracket-style challenge, making its way all the way to the championship for finale with the Gen 4 cars later this season. And so you're looking at the different winners we've seen this season, and already, of course, we've got a couple of favorites throughout the championship. We're still sort of up in the air, but with this bracket-style challenge, it will add some new complications for, let's say, a driver who's been dominating the season to advance forward.
One thing that's real interesting is that every race that we have in the playoffs, there's essentially going to be 8 mini races going on, because the way that this is formatted, it's tournament style. So in a normal race, you're racing against 25, 30 other competitors, but if you're in the playoffs, you're trying to beat one guy. I mean, if you finish 24th and he finishes 25th, that's a win for you. I mean, that's what's going to make it interesting, because there's going to be so many battles throughout the field. I think we'll have we'll almost have trouble probably keeping up with all of them, but it'll be a good problem to have. I mean, I can't wait for a couple weeks from now for that.
Just saying, we're going to be working really hard to get you all those combos, the drivers going head-to-head against each other each and every week. Let's take a look a little bit further into the analysis for tonight's race at Watkins Glen. We'll start, Dylan, with the track, or actually we'll go with the car. This is the vehicle analysis, the off-road Pro 2 trucks. Last time we saw this one was in season number 5, so it's been quite a while, but these things are kind of hectic to drive, but a lot of fun too.
I mean, it's going to be the heaviest car or vehicle that they drive this year. It's going to be 4,000 pounds. It's one of the longer cars as well. It's going to be 93 inches in width with a wheelbase of 117. I mean, it's a heavy car. They're going to be hitting the chip right about when they get to the chicane on the backstretch, and then when they go down to turn 1. I mean, it's the sense of speed will be there, even though the miles per hour might not be there.
You can kind of sling these things around the track. And speaking of the track, this is the stage we have, Watkins Glen International, and in upstate New York, Dylan. Of course, this has been around the NASCAR schedule for so long. It's been on the Monday Night Racing schedule for a very long time. We were here just a couple of months ago with the Porsche 911s, but on this NASCAR short circuit configuration, this track boasts a lot of challenges and high speeds.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, you have a couple places on the track that you can mess up pretty easy, and it's a very unique road course because it carries so much speed. Like if you mess up turn 1, well, you can make it up in the S's. You mess up in the S's, well, you can make it up at the bus stop or through the carousel. That's one thing that's real unique about this track. It's just short of 2.5 miles long, 8 turns. There's every quarter's different banking wise. I mean, I believe that the carousel is about 10 to 15 degrees of banking. Pit road speed will be 40 miles per hour. That will come into play. And the surface for this race will be asphalt here in upstate New York.
Of course, we've got many different parts of this track to watch for. Turn 1, they call it the 90 because it's literally a 90-degree turn going up the hill through the S's, very tight, very fast. And you've got that really intricate bus stop section. You hop over the curbs, and these trucks obviously have no challenge going through those curves, but still certainly one of the more difficult parts of this track, especially when you're going 2 or 3 wide down that main back straightaway. Here's open qualifying. We've got at least 30 minutes on board. We just killed about 2 or so minutes on this, and you look at Reed Wilson for Team Joyride, driver of the number 66, as he hops on the brakes, heading for turn 1. You look at the Joey Sucks Dodge shop, and Dylan, he brought that up last week. Remember when we talked to him with the Gen 4 cars in Michigan? He said Joey Sucks Dodge shop and kind of promoted it near the end, and then talking about Joey Padgett. Well, I guess there it is in full form. That's the Halloween costume for tonight.
Wow, that's a good looking costume. By the way, that is a real website. You can buy actual merchandise from there. You can get coffee mugs, all kinds of stuff on there. But before we go anywhere else, we're doing open qualifying. This is a little different than what you'll see most of the year. It's 30 minutes. Whoever sets the fastest time is going to be on the pole, and they'll be in subsequent order. But everyone's on track at the same time. So you might have some draft involved. You might have some incidents involved, and you're on board with Mario Miranda. But it's very interesting change that we've had the first time this year qualifying.
And we're usually accustomed to, like you said, single car queue, drivers going on by themselves. And with the IRL1s at Indianapolis, that was a new thing too, right? You look at the 4-lap average, sort of Brickyard, or rather Indy 500 style qualifying at the Brickyard, if you look on board with Miranda. But having this open qualifying setup allows for draft to play a role as Miranda cuts into turn 1, and just looking after the large group ahead of him, Brandon Howe for the 9, Ryan Vargas in his machine, and then you look at Robbie Lyons leading this 4 truck, now making 5 trucks in this large single car pack. Nick Olson tailing at the end of this. So we'll have about 26.5 minutes left for these drivers to put in their best overall lap. And I think what's better than just 2-lap or even 4-lap qualifying here, Dylan, is you have a lot of chances to learn about this truck. You've got a lot of opportunities to see which laps tick, see what driving style you like with this Pro 2 truck if you haven't had that much practice. And obviously, if you have a poor lap at the first part of Q, you can just wait a little longer, see what went wrong, go after it again, and get a better lap.
I mean, there's a lot that can happen in 30 minutes. You might have someone that is just absolutely struggling at the start of this qualifying that probably didn't have a whole lot of time to practice. And then by the end of qualifying, they might see themselves in the top 5 or 10. But the other thing that comes into play is, how much of a pack are you in? Because drafts, I think, is going to matter just a hair, and the track temperature will change. I mean, the track's already changed about a degree or 2 since we started qualifying just 5 short minutes ago. It's sitting at about 82 degrees. But there's going to be a lot of things that'll come into play in this Q session.
And one driver who knows a thing or two about slinging these trucks around the iRacing service is Connor Berry, the two-time off-road pro champion in iRacing. Of course, was in that world championship just a couple of months ago. And Berry, who has definitely showed out a bit throughout his second full-time Monday Night Racing season. He's looking to prove a point. We saw him have a top 5 finishing position just a couple of weeks ago. Next Gen's at Daytona, his best finish in his Monday Night Racing career. And so the former rookie is going to try to prove a lot of doubters wrong and is going to try to get to his first career W, which happened here the last time we were out at Watkins Glen, Dylan. It was a showdown at the finish between James Bickford in the 29 and what was Shane Van Gisbergen. And if that name rings a bell, then obviously you've been watching either Supercars or NASCAR over the last couple of months. But it was an absolutely stunning run to the finish line, and Bickford grabbed his first Monday Night Racing win here at this track with this combo. He hasn't been able to get a Pro Series win since, if you exclude all of the Summer Series W's he's picked up over the last couple of months as he ride on board with Ford Martin. So I guess safe to say, Dylan, anything can happen. Any driver can rise to the occasion.
Oh, 100%. You know, you mentioned Connor Berry as he's turning laps here. He's very familiar with this car because he runs it at the pro level. And one thing that will be very interesting to see is normally when you're running on those tracks, it's either an all dirt surface or it's half and half, dirt and asphalt or dirt and pavement, whatever it may be, depending on the track. But there's not a track that these would go to that he's probably raced on that's been just straight pavement all the way around. So I still think that he's going to be one of the favorites in this race just because he knows this vehicle more than probably anyone else in the field. But it's the great equalizer. That's what I've always enjoyed about Monday Night Racing is you might have a combo on paper, you think, oh, well, this guy's just going to run away with it. But, you know, it's a new combo for everyone. I can't imagine there's been just too many people that have ran this that, you know, other than if they were involved in the last time that these vehicles and cars were here. But it's going to be fun. We can't wait.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And two, as well, to your point, is it looks like Nick Olsen is just absolutely taking that bus stop the other way, so he's going to slow down. He'll tow it to pit road while some other trucks go beating and banging through the bus stop, and another one goes through the access road, just overshooting that sector of the track. Is strategy built up a lot through the last time we were here in season 5. We had a lot of strategy come into mix, and to see exactly which drivers sort of overcame the strategy, being able to gain or lose track position just based on when they pit, how long their stops are, just the entire atmosphere of coming down pit road. Now, we do have a caution midway through this race at around lap 20, but still, you have that chance for strategy to come into the fold and bring in more drivers along the way. Here's the 04, Corey Deucer, who's definitely proven a lot, Dylan, over the last couple of weeks. And Deucer did have a great run building at Michigan before things ultimately went south, and Deucer came home one lap down in 29th, but he's bringing all the speed factor trucks with some brand new paint schemes along with him, and Deucer looking for his first win, 22 minutes down from this qualifying session.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Corey Deucer. He's put together a lot of good runs so far here early on in this year, but I mean, you could say that about a lot of guys in this field. I mean, I think Corey Haim's been one of the more powerful drivers. Nick Olsen, Mario Moreno. We missed him last week, but I really like what Corey's done over these first few weeks.
They're definitely stout, and so is the rest of the speed factor camp. You look at the K-Breeze in the 51 and the 39, how well they've performed over the year. But even though they were strong in that Michigan race last week, they could not get around the Marietta, Georgia native of Corey Haim, who's actually getting set to strap into a different type of truck. The Craftsman Truck Series going to have their finale at Phoenix Raceway this weekend. Had a bit of a weekend off as the Xfinity Series and Cup Series were over at Martinsville, Virginia for their round of 8 decider prior to the championship 4. Haim will race for a Truck Series championship in 2023. He will follow Will Rogers to the entrance of pit road. So I guess part of that lengthy qualifying session too, Dylan, these guys are just going to have a chance to either practice pit road strategy or just go into their box, maybe get some fresh tires and try to put a banger on the timing sheet.
Yeah, again, you're going to see a lot of trial and error here in this qualifying session. Again, it's very unique. Like you mentioned earlier, sometimes you get 1 lap or 2 laps, or it's a combination of 4 laps. But here, I mean, heck, you could almost turn 25 laps here in this qualifying session, or you can even test stuff for the race. I think you'll see a lot of guys do that. They'll put down what they think is a pretty good lap, and then they'll just kind of do a race stint just to see what they can do fuel-wise and tire-wise, etc.
So here's a look on board with Adam Cabot, currently 10th on the sheets, or on the sheet rather. His best time currently at 124.587. No one has been able to top Joey Padgett right now with a 124.112. Him and Reed Wilson have been sort of doing well through the sheets, but Padgett so far the best right now. Wilson trapped in 8th, and Adam Cabot, of course, the winner over at the Daytona International Speedway with the next-gen cars, looking for his 2nd win of the year. And I definitely like the colors. Dug the nice designs on the 17. He's got the Chevrolet logos on the front. So I'm gonna guess that's a Silverado, Colorado. Not sure.
Well, it's definitely something. It's a good-looking car. I know that. Doug DeNice always has some pretty good-looking schemes that he puts out there. A lot of good-looking trucks out here. Just eyeballing them. There's a couple that look alike, like Joey and Ford got that same kind of teal along with Reed Wilson, and there's a bunch of us. We have a big wreck on the front stretch here. Oh my goodness! But that's the good thing about Monday Night Racing is like you'll see a lot of guys that'll run basically the same scheme throughout the whole year, but it's just converted onto different cars. It's kind of fun to keep up with. Like Colin Fern's car is going to look the same like every single race. It's going to have a big red 96 on it. It's going to have the FRS colors on it. The grid marketing cars are going to look the same every week. Mario Miranda is going to have probably the same purple and teal and Oklahoma logo that he has on every one of his cars that he always has, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, look at Colin Fern on the rear.
There he is.
We call this bumper or rear flaps of the number 96. That paint scheme is exactly how he is character-wise. It's just big, it's bold, and it's not afraid to show its power or its statement, as you will, the 96 with a rather basic paint scheme, but it works when you're just driving your Pro 2 truck for only one time in this season, and you're just going to have more Gen 4 races or stock car events where you can just pull out the full paint schemes that a lot of these drivers have. And here's the number 98, Presley Sora, former champion in this series, and he came away with a finish that definitely would not like to remember all too much last week at Michigan International Speedway. He came home down, looked like 11 laps down in 31st to 98. So not the greatest night for Sora, but looking for a rebound. And this is, I believe, his 2nd time running this Pro 2 truck at Watkins Glen Combo. He was around in Season 5, his rookie campaign, Dylan, when he won the season championship at Homestead Miami Speedway not too long ago. And so he's following this duo right here, Connor Berry and Jordan Buster, trying to go at it as Buster looks like skips through the grass. Not enough space through that bus stop.
He's doing some lawn work over there, isn't he? That's one thing you'll see a lot is you'll see it pretty easy to do it any other car to just cut through the grass in the bus stop there. But I mean, you'll see it get exciting here. There's going to be parts of this track you're going to be like, whoa, they're like 4 wide. What the heck's going on here? But it's a lot. I've seen a lot of qualifiers kind of skipping around the field. A lot of guys are going just balls to the wall trying to get something on the board that's pretty good, and then other guys are just kind of waiting, hoping for that track temp to heat up a little bit. Track temp's actually gone up another degree. It's at about 83 degrees flat now, as opposed to when it was about 80 and a half when the section started about 10 minutes ago. So things literally heating up here at Watkins Glen.
It's pretty warm here in upstate New York, which probably really isn't the case in real life since we're waning down in October. We're getting to the fall and winter season, and it does get really cold up here. As Matt Stolnick in the 41, he's 17th on the charts, right behind Colin Fern in the number 96, coming out of the final corner and just heading down that front straightaway. How about that? Presley Sora, though, being able to get over Joey Padgett on the timing sheet, and I believe that's the first 123-minute-second lap we've seen all night long in qualifying. 123.983. So Sora being able to break free from the grasp that Joey Padgett had on the field, and car 98 up in front.
Yeah, he's the first one to dip into the 123s. Presley, he's been real strong when he's not getting wrecked here the first 3 weeks of the season. But Presley, you could name about probably close to 15 to 20 guys who say, man, he's having a good season so far. Or you could also say, man, if he wasn't involved in that wreck, he'd be having a good season right now. But that's the beauty of Monday Night Racing is everyone that's in it is very capable of winning any week.
And we've talked to the drivers before, right, Dylan? They've said how the competition in this series has grown so much since MNR even started a couple of years ago. And here's the man pretty much behind the entire operation, Ford Martin. He's at first seen the competition change. It goes a
As
little
he hits the wall.
the bus stop there. It did hit the wall. I'm just going to have to wobble through and get to the carousel and trying to look for the next lap. But he's been basically the first-person perspective of how much this series has grown and how much competition has entered since it began around the pandemic time, 2020. Corey Heim, of course, being one of them, adding in real-life drivers, adding in guys who are part of the media who are still really quick, adding in pure sim racers when they had Adam Cabot, of course, Presley Sora. And even though Sora's racing in real life, that start really came from the sim. Same could go for Miranda, who just had many years and many races under his belt in series like the Sunoco Cup series that we cover here on Podium Esports, and now racing Legends cars in real life. So, you know, you've got a big mix of guys here in this series, and competition has certainly risen over the last couple of years. 14.5 minutes left in qualifying. A look on board with Miranda's Team Watson Racing, number 89, heading into turn number 7 and turn number 8. He's following the Hog Tamer duo of Corey Heim and Will Rogers.
I don't think Mario had too good of a weekend as Oklahoma Sooners. They went on the road, lost a big game at Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
So that's I'm surprised he's here tonight. I thought he'd still be, you know, drowning the sorrows over that last weekend, but glad he's here. He's going to try to avenge that loss and, you know, save face for the University of Oklahoma.
Hey, those Jayhawks fans were going insane when they had us. Oh,
golly.
To the parry off of turn 1. I guess he heard what we were talking about, got a little distracted, but yeah, those Jayhawks fans, I mean, they tore down the goalpost.
Yeah, they threw it in the lake.
Threw it into a lake, yeah. Didn't Tennessee do that when they beat Alabama?
Oh, yeah, and the big video I remember seeing is their school president, someone asking him, say, hey, how much is that going to cost? Like, it don't matter, we got it, as he's smoking a cigar. I'm like, man, that's baller.
You know, it sort of makes me wish that, you know, I had a big college football presence in my school. I mean, the Panthers are, you know, they're kind of hanging around Conference USA, but they're not necessarily a tight end in the college football world. I don't think you're definitely, you've got some SEC schools, you know, near you. You've got a lot of schools in your area that are surely, you know, college football giants in a way.
I guess if you want to call the University of Arkansas that, they haven't been a Power 5 school this year, but they've had good years. It's almost basketball season, so we're trudging along begrudgingly through football season.
Hey, those Razorbacks actually play FIU in a couple weeks.
Oh, they'll probably lose.
No, I think FIU might just have that L in the bag. I think they haven't been playing as good this November 18th. Mark that calendar. It's going to be Decon versus Bueno Day.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Whoever wins, I think, will have an absolute tirade on Twitter. We'll see, or X rather. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
We'll look through the field.
Still nobody into the 123s, though. The Presley Sora, it's kind of surprising. You got one that's kind of close. DJ Cummings, he's about 100th off, but that's a pretty stout time by Presley. That's faster than any time that I believe we had in practice as well, by a fairly decent margin, by about a 10th. So, I mean, Presley Sora's got a good start going here.
Definitely want some clean air at the beginning of the race, and DJ Cummings, of course, known to survive many chaotic races over the history of Monday Night Racing. Cummings with second on the charts right now. We're winding down to the last 12 minutes of qualifying. Draft certainly is playing a factor, and I'm noticing here with DJ Cummings sort of at the back end of this group, you've got Brandon Brown in the 12, Colin Fern in the 96, Mario Miranda, Corey Deucer, Alex Monteferrante, and Michael Fisher. This is all a large single train of trucks going down the S's and going up to this long back straightaway before you ultimately get to the bus stop and downhill through the carousel. Draft is playing a factor. Some of those guys with the highest times on the board, they've been able to hang in either 2 or 3 truck tandems, being able to feed off of the draft on those straightaways gives them at least a decent amount of time, and even if it's a small amount of time they gain, it's still significant when you're talking about maybe smallest of margins in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, every second counts, but as much as you could swing this car out wide, you could find time pretty much anywhere on the racetrack, whether it's through the carousel, through the bus stop, through the S's, or if you brake later going into turn 1. There's so many opportunities for growth here that's what makes Watkins Glen just a really fun racetrack. You could probably run this truck at a lot of road courses, but this is one of the better ones that you could probably run it at, probably here, or VIR, or there's a couple other road courses that come to mind, probably Road America. But this one is, I think this is the perfect choice. I'm glad that they came here.
And they come here pretty often, every season or so.
Yeah.
This series comes here. So it's been a fan favorite, it's been a driver favorite, and it always provides for some great racing, so you never know exactly what could happen, and that's sort of the magic here at Watkins Glen. Again, last time we were here, it was with the Porsche 911 RSRs. That was with the boot. That was in the playoffs back in Season 6. And on January 23rd, that's when Sage Karam brought in his second win of the season. He got his first at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Now, for now, we don't necessarily have that kind of spoiler in the field. I don't believe if you look to the field, you see any significant road course ringers like an SVG or like a Sage Karam that might just be able to mollywop the field near the end. So it might make things more interesting. And again, you know, when you've got the Pro 2 trucks that are different trucks to drive as opposed to those Porsche 911s that are so glued to the ground and very fast, you have a very interesting race. We'll look on board with Connor Berry again, not able to break through the top 7 and way sideways off the final corner, but giving that little head nod. I believe that's a triple or quadruple monitor setup. I'm not sure. You can't really see it, but you can see that monitor on the bottom right on the screen. And from our producer, yes, quad monitors for Connor Berry. So very impressive.
Yeah, that's a good looking setup. You can get a lot of information on that. He's probably got a big panoramic view where he can see to his left and to his right without having to use a button to look left or right. And that pays a big advantage. I don't know how much it'll matter here, but you know, when you're on a lot of these other tracks where space matters, that's a big advantage to have if you have triple monitors like that, or in his case quads. I'd imagine the top monitor is just information as well, but or it could be just Discord, or it could be watching the stream as well.
Yeah, I've seen some sim racers have the triple monitor setup where they've got the sim left to right all around, but then at the top they have telemetry. Some drivers have that telemetry and they look up, they can see their fuel, how much is left, and they sort of think in their minds, you know, what am I going to do through this race? How am I performing? And obviously, how can I improve? And just get that little accurate data that could assist them later in the race. There's a look at Brandon Brown, driver of the number 12 machine out of Gerardstown, West Virginia, as he makes his way off of the carousel. And the little bit of runoff you've got there on the red and yellow curbing. And while we talk about Watkins Glen a little further into the final 8.5 minutes of Q, Dylan, you've got a relatively new, still Watkins Glen circuit. Remember back in the day, iRacing had an old 2008 scan of this track that lasted for so long. It was a very rough surface, and then finally, after many years of fans and sim racers asking, when are we getting a brand new Watkins Glen? They pulled out a brand new Watkins Glen scan, and it's got a lot more grip than it ever has before. The curbing is accurate to the 2023 specs, and the colors are all right, and it's a beautiful track in sim, but it adds to another challenge. And while these guys have had more experience over the years, it's still relatively new. This track has been refreshed not that long ago as Presley Sora makes his way down pit road. A bit of practice for him.
Yeah, I noticed it this year when the official series came here, or any official series, but I mainly noticed it with the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck when they came here, that it was more grippy. You were able to do a lot more. I could not drive the old version. I mean, it was okay, but whatever reason on this one, it was just like, it was like night and day how much of a difference is. There's more grip. If you run over the curbs, it's not a death sentence. And they did a really good job with this rescan, as they always do with any scan of iRacing. I mean, even though, you know, the scan that was so old, it was, I believe, still the oldest scan that was being used regularly on iRacing, outside of maybe, I think, Lanier or Oxford Plains, which that even got an upgrade too. But iRacing does an excellent job of scanning these two within, I believe, 1,000th of an inch to real life accuracy. I mean, you're driving on the real thing, basically.
Really accurate scans as there's a truck going up and over, and a big crash on the S's. Now this is something that the Monday Night Racing admins, it's still going, by the way, they're still bouncing around.
It's the big one.
Reed Wilson is still going. There's a camera looking. I don't think he minds at all. Just a bit of qualifying shenanigans.
It's the long one at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, the really long one. But that's something that MNR admins do not want to see tonight. They have advised us before the race that they will not throw a caution flag other than the one at midway at lap 20, unless there is an absolute track blocker, unless basically everyone is involved and no one can get around the carnage. If that happens, then they will throw a yellow, but that's to say that we've seen some rather clean racing in the past here at Watkins Glen. So if it goes that way, that only caution comes at lap 20, and that's it. You don't get any more cautions from race control. They'll hang back and watch the action unfold like we will in the booth. On the ovals, you've got those cautions all around the clock, whether it's lap 1 or lap 100 or whatever give you. They're going to be around the attentive center, just trying to make sure that they can analyze where the cautions are happening and throw them when necessary. But here on the road courses, you don't get them quite easy.
Yeah, I talked with Michael Hall and Paul Sutton, our race control directors, before we went live, and they said, yeah, basically going to be a track blockers the whole time they're going to throw it. There are track limits where they'll get a 1x penalty. They might even get a time penalty depending how much they go off track, but that's on the drivers. I mean, there's not really an incident limit that they have to follow, so they can keep racking up 1x's, and, you know, if they think it's going to earn them enough time and it's going to be worthwhile to do, then they can keep doing it. But basically they're saying if you want to shoot yourself in the foot, you can shoot yourself in the foot all you want. And the other thing that you had mentioned is you could turn on iRacing cautions here, but it's going to throw it pretty much for anything that would be a caution anywhere else. So like if you have a car spin in the carousel that's on the other side of the track, it's going to affect everybody, and it'll be a full course yellow for basically something that could have just been a local yellow. So the local yellows will still be enforced, meaning there's something treacherous ahead, you know, proceed with caution. But full course yellows, I don't think we'll see any other than the stage break, or not the stage break, the intermission that we'll have on lap 20.
It's the advantage you get while driving at a rather large road course. You can have carnage at one corner, but as soon as it resolves itself, you basically have a clean and green racetrack. Let's take a look at the Highland Homes Roofing race analysis from the Glen. We've got 50 laps on board for tonight, just a little over 122 miles and a bit under 200 kilometers. We do have the caution break at lap number 20, like we mentioned, so that will open the door for drivers to sort of break this race into halves, if you will, play their strategy accordingly. We do have pit road speed limit at 40 miles an hour. I believe these trucks do have a limiter, so no problems on speeding unless it's absolutely the entry that they get wrong. No fast repairs for these trucks, so if you do get enough damage to take you out of the race, you're just gonna have to buckle up and get ready for next week. Car setups are fixed, and we've got 100% max fuel. We don't exactly know the fuel window with these Pro 2 trucks at the Glen, but as we unfold this race, we'll have those answers for you. We've got 4 tire sets available, but Dylan is going to matter because these trucks are slipping and sliding on fresh tires. If you imagine it on worn tires, it probably isn't much easier.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it is. I'm not too familiar with the tire model with these trucks. I've raced them before, just in official races, but they never go too long. It's only about 8 or 10 laps, and you don't really just notice a big difference in tires. So we'll see how it is after 50 laps. And I don't even know how long a pit stop would take to change all 4 tires. So that'll be another thing that comes into play. You know, if you have guys that, you know, they're wearing one side out more than the other. Normally you wear out your left sides here more than anything else because you're putting so much pressure on them in heavy braking zones. But if you see guys just want to take left sides, or if they think that tires are just fine and they just want to stick with what they have on the truck, they can do that. But that's one thing that's going to come into play. I don't think a lot of people just really know how it's going to go.
We've got 12 gallons here on this Pro 2 truck with 100% fuel. So it says on estimated when you're parked on pit road, you maybe give it a little under 30 laps on the tank itself, but given the fact that these drivers are going 100%, that number probably not the most accurate. We should see around lap 15, lap 20, most likely for drivers to at least peak down to pit road. But with that competition break at the 20th lap, we don't know whether guys are going to pit earlier to gain track position, or if they're going to wait for that caution at some point to then come down pit road collectively, just reset for the long stint to the end of the race. Under 2 minutes here in qualifying from the Glen. Presley Sora still unbeaten. He's got pole 4 now. DJ Cummings in second. Joey Padgett rounding out the top 3 after the 83 truck had the fastest time for a little while at a 1:24.112. We've got a total of 30 trucks in this race, so we did get note that James Bickford was dealing with a little bit of connectivity issues throughout qualifying. He's been able to rejoin a couple times, but he has dropped out, so we'll keep you updated on exactly what happens with Bickford, who came home in 3rd last week at Michigan International Speedway. But Dylan, we're sort of getting down to it. We're going to be on that grid, and it's a standing start, so track position is surely going to be key when you have that chase towards the 90 turn 1.
Yeah, if we make it through turn 1 clean with no major incidents, I'll be very, very surprised. Now, these guys are pretty good, but it always seems to be a mess going into turn 1, no matter who's racing or what's racing or who, like, wherever it may be. But, you know, I hope I'm wrong.
You know what, I'm sure that if I'm Doofenshmirtz, I probably will throw a no cautioning nature out on the track, so if there is a track blocker, we can still go on full and steady, and maybe Perry doesn't spoil my plans at some point, but we'll try and get down to it. Under 40 seconds here in qualifying, so we're getting ready to wrap things up. Drivers are putting in their final laps, and some just getting that last-ditch effort, a final punch, if you will, to try and crack some position throughout the field. But for the moment, it looks like it will be the Cambridge City, Indiana native of Presley Sora grabbing a pole here from Watkins Glen. DJ Cummings in second, Joey Padgett third, Nick Olson fourth, Corey Heim, last week's winner from Michigan, rounds out the top five. We'll get to the final 5 seconds before we approach this standing start for the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge. Qualifying comes to an end. Let's take a look at your starting grid. We'll go trackside before we get the green from Barney the Flagman for 50 laps. Here from upstate New York, Presley Sora grabs the pole with a 1:23.983. He is the only driver in the field to break the 1:23 second bracket. DJ Cummings on the outside of him, row number 1, will follow in stagger formation to the green. Joey Padgett in the 83 is top 3 on the starting grid. Nick Olson rounds up the top 4 in row number 2, winner from Indianapolis to kick off the year. Corey Heim will look for 2 in a row. He starts inside row 3, top 5 position, and the Joey Sucks Dot Shop number 66 of Reed Wilson will be on the outside in position number 6. Corey Deucer in the 04 is 7th at the starting grid, trying to recover from a 29th place outing last week, and Mario Miranda makes his return to the series. He rounds out the top 8. Final 2 in the top 10, Dylan Connolly, the 02 of Connor Berry. Sure to watch him throughout tonight's action, and Colin Fern in the number 96.
As we go back to row number 6, Alex Monteferrante and Will Rogers will be in 11th to 12th position this evening. Adam Cabot in that 17 machine alongside Michael Fisher in row number 7. Matthew Stallneck, Bailey Turner in row number 8 here at Watkins Glen. Ford Martin, the boss man himself, alongside Ryan Rhino Vargas in row number 9. And then rounding out top 10, Kenneth Bueno, Brandon Houff, and Ronnie Osmer in that double nickel machine there as they head back to row 11.
Row 11 features Gary Sexton. A lot of work he needs to do from 21st. Monin Rahman on his outside in the number 44 is 22nd. James Bickford, the defending winner of this race, grabbed his first career MNR win at this very track with this very truck. He'll try and roll off from 23rd. Christopher Tate for 3F Racing in the number 30 on his outside in 24th position. Jordan Buster is 25th. 26th goes to the 01 of Joshua Slate. That rounds out row number 13. Brandon Brown in the 12. The Sim Seats truck will be inside row 14. Robbie Lyons, the Seminole, Florida native, on his outside in 28th. Brett Baldick and Steve Aufont will round out the top 30, and that brings an end to your 30 truck field here from Watkins Glen. Like Dylan was talking about, weather is definitely a factor here in New York, and track temp has cooled down just a little bit. It was 83 in the middle of qualifying. It is 81 at the drop of the green for the race. We have 77% or 77 degrees rather, track temperature, air temperature, mostly cloudy skies, winds to the southwest at around 4 to 5 miles an hour. It's a beautiful day to go racing. You go just around 2 p.m. in Sim, so right in the afternoon. Just going to go right through it as we will wait for the green flag. It's our first road course race of the season, a wrench thrown in many drivers' opportunity at a Monday night racing championship. A lot have been looking forward to this race for its chaos. A lot have been trying to duck it for the very same reason. And we only have the road course left at Long Beach and at Wild West Motorsports Park before we close out the regular season. Here's a look at our driver wall. 7 drivers total. You go from Reed Wilson on the top left, Miranda in the middle, Ronnie Osmer on the top right, then Ford Martin in the middle left, and then you've got Connor Berry in the middle, and then you've got Nick Olson on the very right, and Presley Sora grabbing his water bottle and taking a sip before we go green at the very bottom. We'll be tracking those drivers throughout tonight's race, and we are anticipating this green flag scenario for turn 1. Presley Sora and DJ Cummings starting to load into the session. Barney the Flagman waits and waits and waits a little longer. It's a spooky race here from Watkins Glen. We'll have the revs kick up at a race that lasts about an hour and 10 in Sim as we go green throughout the race. Competition caution, like we said, at lap number 20. Presley Sora, the pole sitter, is in stagger formation on a standing start here in Watkins Glen, New York, ready to kick off the 4th race of season 7 in Monday night racing. green in the air from Watkins Glen, and the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge is underway. And in the chase for turn 1, Joey Paget dives down. Multiple drivers, 3 wide. Sora leads him off into the S's for the very first time.
All pretty neat and tidy through turn number 1 into the S's right there.
Quick getaway by Sora. He leads him to the backstretch. Corey Heim peeking on the outside of Mario Miranda. That position on tap for position number 6, it appears, to the back straightaway. Now here comes DJ with a look on the inside for the lead. Sora backs out, entering the bus stop, and our first lead change comes not even half a lap in. DJ Cummings to the lead for the carousel.
That's quite the visual right there. See these trucks shifted weight, slide through the first carousel right there, and through the bus stop. That's just a good look at what you'll see all night with these trucks. You're going to see them shift and shake. It'll look like they'll flip over most of the time, but they're in pretty good shape.
Those suspensions are working hard with these Pro 2 trucks, and DJ Cummings not wasting any time, using the draft and the momentum on the back straightaway through the S's to get around Presley Sora. And the thing that Presley Sora did at the entrance of that bus stop that is typical here at Watkins Glen, these trucks are rather large and wide, so the last thing you want to do is go door to door once you get into that very tight portion of the track. We do have one driver coming in for pit road at the end of the opening lap. Michael Fisher in the 32 appears to have something going on. Not sure if there was damage dealt to his machine, but he is coming down regardless. And there was a black flag as there's some contact further back. Corey Heim getting absolutely bullied at the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, I believe Michael Fisher might have left just a little early when the lights came on. So the lights will appear and then they will turn red, and just like you may watch Formula 1, as soon as the lights go out, it's a way that they go, and he went a little bit early, and that's why he's serving that black flag.
Fisher, one of those speed factor trucks, as we mentioned. Look at Miranda giving the back bumper there to Corey Heim in the 11, forcing him to go side by side with Colin Fern. Now they make further contact, skipping through the grass at the exit of the bus stop. Colin Fern hops over the radio, sort of asking in a way, what are you guys doing here? As the 89 makes more contact, falling through the top 10. Around goes Barry, around goes Deucer, and Miranda sort of struggling on this second lap.
I think a lot of guys are just feeling each other out here. It's just the same thing that you'll probably see every week. You know, they're just trying to see what they can get done and what they can move around and what they're able to do early on, because if you can do it now, you can do it any time of the race.
And the 89 is going to hold off the pressure from the 02 of Deucer for now. We'll look on board with the third place truck. That is Joey Paget in the 83, and much like Reed Wilson is sporting the Joey Sucks .shop colors on his Pro 2 truck. And I'm kind of curious to see why the banner that says Joey Sucks is $70.60, not just $69.99. Would be a pretty nice price, but nonetheless, Paget still rolling in third off the draft of Sora and Cummings. We'll look to the back straightaway and sort of resembling the trend that's been happening through the top 10, Dylan. Everybody all single file, just waiting to log in some laps as they get through the bus stop for the third time.
One thing we forgot to mention, you know, we held the competition caution at lap 20, but they will close pit road with 2 to go before that. So on lap 18, pit road will be closed. So you'll have to make a decision. If you think you can make it all the way to the end, which I don't think, they'll be pushing it, trying to go 20 laps with this on fuel, but I guess we'll see. You might see a lot of guys, again, like you mentioned earlier, pit on lap 17 or as early as they can, just so they can, you know, get track position coming out of it, because it'd really only be a 2 or 3 lap difference, because you can make it up under pacing here, but we'll have to see how the strategy plays out here in about 12 or 15 laps.
Still pretty early to decide, but nonetheless, we're going to see how it all unfolds as there's the skirmish at around the top 12. Adam Cavett forcing his way through Will Rogers in the 7. We look on board with Matt Stolnick, who's been able to get into the top 16. So he started in 15th, so around the same marker where he was at the drop of the green. And then Alex Monteferrante right on the background in his number 97. They all dart for turn 1. Bit of contact there between Martin and Stolnick, but no harm, no foul. And they'll continue this battle for 15th all the way through the S's. Here's a look from Martin back in 17th. It's exactly where he started here from the Glen. And just holding out here with his Crypto Autosport teammate in Stolnick and just hang on the back bumper. And actually we'll look towards the inside, so we'll possibly make a move entering the bus stop. And you don't really have that many opportunities, Dylan, unless the driver makes a mistake here at the Glen. It appears back straightaway, bus stop, and turn 1, the 90, the places to best make passes. But, I mean, we'll see these drivers get a bit creative. We've seen it happen before, and as these trucks just slide around lap after lap through the carousel, you might have the chance for some more passes to be done there, too.
Yeah, as slow as they're going, these will be. They go really slow. They'll only tap out about 115, maybe 120 something miles per hour, if that. I mean, there's not a lot of places that you can make up room or you can make up time just because everyone's going to be about at the same speed. I mean, this is still a fairly decent pack. Normally, by now, if you're in anything else, we have a lot more space throughout the field. But other than Michael Fisher, everyone's not really quite under a blanket, but it's not like people are far off. You know, I would say probably about a 9-second gap between first and the last car that's in this main pack.
Still relatively close, and I think we saw a bit of action there. Corey Heim getting swept up at the exit of turn 1. A look on board with the Grit Esports machine of Nick Olsen in the 24. Look how much he's having to fight off. Ryan Vargas in the 26. Corey Deucer in the number 04. And Ryan Vargas, Dylan, is sporting a pretty special paint scheme on his Pro 2 truck. And we did see this, I believe, back in Season 5 when he ran this combo a little while ago. That is actually the same exact paint scheme, a Cranial Care Bearer scheme, that Vargas drove in his first Xfinity Series start at Iowa. I believe it was the 17th place finish that he came home with in his first ever Xfinity Series race. And such a great moment for Vargas as he rolls into P10, I believe, for the first time tonight after starting 18th.
Yeah, Vargas making the moves right now. He's looking pretty good there in 10th. I tell you, Ryan Vargas can drive, man. You know, he's been in the Xfinity Series. He's raced some races in the Truck Series. He's even gone to Europe to race in the NASCAR Euro Series. He's anything with a wheel, it seems like he'll be down to race. And, you know, I'm a big Ryan Vargas fan, as we'll have, looks like a battle for the lead here. Presley Sora diving to the right side of DJ Cummings into turn 1.
Well, he looks like he's got it. Sora dives underneath for the 90, and he breaks free. So the pole sitter back to the front after 6 laps of action here at the Glen. Cummings is going to try to shut the door on an approaching Joey Padgett, bringing in his teammate with him, Reed Wilson. Both of them have been performing well throughout the race session, through qualifying and a bit through practice. And Padgett topped the board before getting beaten by Cummings and Sora. He looks to the bottom of the 10. They all block to the bottom of the back straightaway. Now here comes the 66. The 96 makes a statement before they enter the bus stop. And Connor Berry not too far behind in P6. Now contact. Corey Heim and Miranda back there beating on the 0-2 for the carousel.
A lot of beating and banging around here. You can see they're leaning on each other. Look at Corey Heim and Nick Olsen now. There's a little damage on those cars now. As Corey Heim's going to lose some spots, he'll be side by side with Ryan Vargas. But that's the thing, you can lean on these guys. And Nick Olsen going over the radio saying, man, I did not mean to do that, but he just had nowhere to go. As Vargas back got his front end chopped off by Heim as they go down almost back into the front stretch. And it's a big battle here for about 8th place.
The mid-pack.
Oh my goodness!
Now Heim gets hip-checked by Olsen. The truck goes up on its right side. It's going to land back on all fours, and it's going to break everyone loose from around 8th on back. Monteferrante is going to make a chance on the inside of the 11, and Heim has been through it the first 6 or 7 laps, Dylan. I've seen him throughout the track just making contact over and over again with different drivers in the pack, and after starting in 5th, Heim is down to 13th. And watch this battle for the S's.
I mean, Nick's not making too many friends right now. As he apologized earlier for Heim, for tapping Heim, but now he about got turned by Will Rogers and whoever else is behind him. And Ryan Vargas is going over the radio sarcastically asking him, "Are you good, Nick?" But he's not making too many friends here. We're only 7 laps in.
Well, now Nick is going to have to deal with more pressure. There is the former Space Station Gaming truck of Will Rogers in the 7 going through Adam Cabot in the Doug D. Nice Designs. 17 is going to make his way by. Monteferrante not too far behind in this line of trucks either. And what I've noticed, it somewhat feels, Dylan, like a draft pack race in the sense that as soon as you start making a battle happen, Then comes the third driver in line, then the fourth driver in line, the fifth, the sixth, and so on, so on. I don't want to sound like LeBron James when he first signed with the Miami Heat, but if it's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, give or take, I mean, you go side by side, you're going to invite the whole party.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, I mentioned earlier you can make up time here, but when you're in a pack of cars like this, or a gaggle, I guess you'd say, if you mess up one spot, you're going to be put in the sucker hole in an unfavorable position. Oh, what a set by Cabot. Trying to get the slide job. He didn't hit anybody. And that was a great move by Cabot. Just couldn't get the stick, but it's getting pretty fun. It's a lot of jog back and forth in the race right now. As Nick Olson and at least 3 or 4 different guys are talking to each other right now.
We had a battle for the lead develop. DJ Cummings with a send into turn 1. It was successful. Now truck number 98 makes a charge on the outside. Cummings will give way for the bus stop, so a lead change once more on the backstretch. Sora back to the front, and we did have an attempted pass for 4th. Colin Fern trying to get to the inside of Reed Wilson, who's got the camera on the bottom right of your screen. You see his mic and his, what I believe is a Logitech, either a G920 or a 923 on his setup, but nice to have Reed Wilson's camera. We'll talk to him at the competition caution break at lap number 20 in the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge, but Reed Wilson certainly doing nice right now and fended off car number 96. He's fallen to 7th. Miranda and Barry making their way through.
So I still got eyes back here in about 10th place. Corey Heim just gave Nick Olson a shot. I'm like, hey, I really didn't appreciate getting booted out of the way there. But I think Heim has sent a message, and I think they're probably close to even now as things are getting pretty single file throughout the pack. As you're on board with Corey Heim, he'll be in a big race this weekend, Kenneth Bueno. He's in the Final 4 in the Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah, he'll be over in Avondale, Arizona. Adam Cabot, though, squirrely on the inside of him. Former championship competitor last season in this series at Homestead of Miami Speedway. But you're right, Corey Heim, the 3-time winner in the Craftsman Truck Series in 2023. We'll go to that Championship 4 race, and we'll look for his first title in the series with Tricon Garage. Boy, has that team made statements through this year. They've been definitely fast over the last couple of months, and of course bringing driver into a Championship 4 like Heim as DJ Cummings takes the race lead again at the bus stop lap number 9. Heim has a lot to be excited about throughout the week and throughout the weekend as he came home with, I believe, a top 5 finish at Homestead of Miami Speedway just about a week or so ago. Right on board with Connor Berry in the 02, rider out of Menifee, California. We mentioned his experience with these trucks on the dirt road side of things on iRacing, the 2-time off-road pro champion, and Barry has certainly picked up the speed as of late. He's eyeing in on the 66, potential battle for 4th.
Tell you what, it's like a big old snake up here. Everybody's kind of under a blanket. I mean, 1st through 10th is about 3 seconds behind, as we're about halfway to the the scheduled yellow. So pits will close here in about 8 seconds as Nick Olson gets a shot. He gets pushed through turn 1. Corey Heim finally had enough of getting blocked by him, and he's going to move into 9th place right now as Nick Olson's going to lose a couple spots there. That was a shot of a lifetime through turn 1.
Gave him that bump to send him through the corner. Now they're stacking up. Heim trying to take a look on the inside of Ryan Vargas. That's for 9th. He'll throw it up high here on the back straightaway. Now invites the 17. And with these trucks, you have the opportunity to get a little brash and a little abrasive and get into each other without that much of a disadvantage. And the 11 has been bouncing around through the field. Now he's attempting a comeback as we'll have a side-by-side battle further up through the top 10 as we'll look at Bailey Turner, driver in the 5. And a name we haven't really called all too much tonight, Dylan. That's because he started in 16th. He's only worked his way up to 14th, and he is just right behind the defending winner of this race, James Bickford, as here's another look at Corey Heim.
James Bickford's just kind of that guy that he doesn't get mentioned just a whole lot until the end of the race. He's like Kevin Harvick, who's racing his last NASCAR race this weekend, at least full time. It's kind of sad, but he's just that guy that kind of hovers around, and then he makes the moves at the end of the race, and it's good moves. We have cars pitting.
And we have Nick Olson on pit road. He will bring DJ Cummings along for the ride. So we mentioned pit stops shortly before the competition break at lap number 20. Well, we've got him at lap number 11. Truck number 10 is in. and there will be even more trucks heading down the lane. We'll try and keep an eye on exactly who they are, but the 54th Steve Alfont is in, Robbie Lyons is in, the patriotic number 30 of Christopher Tate has made his way in. DJ Cummings, like we mentioned, is getting his service. As look at the battle for second. Joey Padgett, Connor Berry, door to door to the bus stop.
They're running two abreast into the bus stop. They finally figured it out. They got single file. I think you could go too wide here if you had to, but I mean, I don't know if you want to really run that risk. You probably just let him go like he did there with only 40 laps to go in the race. But Presley Sawyer kind of pulling away a little bit over Joey Padgett. He had a little bit of a slow start from the pole, got down to second, but now he's pulling away now.
Well, ever since that 10 truck left the picture by entering pit road, it just opened that gap exponentially between the 98 and basically everybody else. Second on back at the time. As another look here from one of these speed factor trucks, it's Alex Monteferrante looking at this huge battle. We'll take an eye on who's coming in. We're hearing drivers coming for the lane. They are all coming in as Presley Sora will lead them on through. A hop on the brakes for everyone, and I was almost concerned, Dylan, that we're going to hit the pit road barrels like Kyle Larson did at Homestead, but they are absolutely fine. Colin Fern will stay out and lead this race for a little longer, but everyone is coming in at lap 12.
So that's a big move. I only heard one person say they were coming down pit road, and then suddenly it turned into everybody. So just basing off of the pit road delta and everything, you look at DJ Cummings, you look at a few other guys, Ford Martin. It's going to take about 54 seconds, I think, to get 4 tires and some fuel here. If you just take fuel, it's going to take about 44 seconds. So as they come out, look at Corey Heim. He's got some big-time front-end damage. I really can't imagine why he would have that as they come off the pit road. Looks like Corey Deucer comes off first.
So he'll try and settle this one out. That's only 7.2 seconds, and that is fuel only. Not a look for some fresh tires, but we do have drivers who either took 2 or all 4. Just for reference, Nick Olson, who was the second driver to come in behind DJ Cummings, he had to stop at 15 seconds flat. And for DJ Cummings in the 10, who has fallen a bit through this field, but is still trying to get his footing down, he had a 25.6 second stop as he currently resides in 18th. So many different strategies being employed at this sector of the race. And now I have to ask Decon, for these guys who have stayed out, which is a total of 1, as Colin Fern, the race leader, is going to come in. And now is it just a straight shot in for that second half of the race, or is there going to be more shenanigans played under that caution break at lap 20?
I think a lot of guys, I think everybody's going to pit here on this break since everybody's come down so far. I thought someone might try to stay out and go as long as they can, but I think Fern might have done that. So it kind of tells me that the fuel window is somewhere between probably 13 to 15 laps, and they all just want to get ahead of the game, make sure they got enough for the pace laps and everything. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see how this is all called. By the way, the number I mentioned earlier is the time from pit entrance to pit exit and everything in between. So yeah, the pit stops are about 15 to 25 seconds depending on what they got, but their trip on pit road is about 40.
Yeah, we mentioned also the pit road speed limit at 40 miles an hour, so just adds on to the entire pit delta, and that does matter with the distance, especially as we work towards that second half of the race. If we get no yellows for any track blockers on the track, we're gonna have strategy come in, whether these guys like it or not. And this strategy is already unfolded. It's given the speed factor trucks of Corey Deucer and Alex Monteferrante the race lead and second place. Corey Heim, despite struggling a bit through the top 10 and sort of bouncing around through the field, he's now moved into third. And how about this send for the carousel? The 97 is trying to pinch the Heim machine down low. He is drifting through that part of the track, but the 11 is going to stay up there. And Miranda, the third truck in line, is just going to wait for this to happen. Now contact between the two. Miranda has to choose. He picks truck number 97, who pushes Heim out the way through turn number 7. They are leading on each other here at lap 13, and Monteferrante holds on to the spot physically.
Yeah, that's the key word there is physically. I told you, these guys can lean on each other. You know, Corey Heim's got all kinds of damage. He got hit down the inside wall. And, I mean, it's getting real chippy now. Somebody in the back clips the wall. It's Corey Heim will assume second position. I can't imagine for too long, as I don't think we're done using the bumpers here.
Reed Wilson made a trip downstairs at the front straightaway, tried to make a move underneath Presley Sora and Monteferrante, so the 97 is falling through the top 5 just a bit on the outskirts of the SS. Heim shuffles into second, Sora, the former race leader, into third place, and Corey Deucer with a monsoon of space between himself and Corey Heim at around 0.8 of a second. That is decreasing as we head down the back straightaway, but we're around 6 or so laps away from that competition caution that will bring the field together as we look on board with Reed Wilson, one of those Team Joyride trucks, still in the top 4 and holding out in front of Mario Miranda and Monteferrante. But that was really interesting to see, Dylan, how that entire strategy unfolded, because you have those guys who went fuel only, guys who went 2 tires, guys who went all 4 and full service head to toe. It has changed the complexion of the field, and it's allowed for these guys like Deucer and Monteferrante to just have a moment up front as we'll look on board with Brandon Houff, who breaks the top 13 after starting 19th tonight. He's behind a long list of trucks: Adam Cabot, Ryan Vargas, Nick Olsen, James Bickford, who breaks the top 10.
Well, I guess aero's not too much of an issue. I'm just kind of scanning through a lot of these trucks. They got all kinds of cosmetic damage all over them. So, I mean, Nick Olson's got a bunch, Corey Himes got a bunch, Ryan Vargas has a little bit. I mean, it's you can beat bang with these trucks, and as long as they don't lose any speed with the engine or lose any horsepower, you're in pretty good shape, it looks like. Because, I mean, they've been leaning on each other all over the field for the last 6 or 7 laps.
They've been not afraid to show their colors throughout the night. And one thing that I am noticing as well, Dylan, is that tires are mattering here, because it was a 10.6 second stop for Heim. He did take some rubber, as Corey Deucer did not, at 7.2 seconds, and the gap has decreased basically in the fraction of a second. Heim has been able to close in on the 04 quite quickly. He might make an opportunity at the race lead in just a couple of moments, and he might just bring Presley Sora and Reed Wilson, maybe even Miranda in 5th place, along for the ride. Top 5 have broken away here at lap 15. We're approaching 5 laps to go before the competition caution comes out, and of course pit road is going to close, which I'm sure, Dylan, is not going to be a factor now that basically everyone has come in, but notes are being taken by guys like Deucer, and for everyone else, they know what stops work and they know what they can use for that stop coming up at lap 20.
That is kind of the good ace in the hole for a lot of these guys to have, is that, you know, they'll have that caution coming up that they know for sure is going to happen. It's kind of like the same way in NASCAR. If you know the stage break's coming up, okay, if you mess something up, you can replicate it, you can fix it here early because of that caution that's going to come out. You can fix and not do what you did before again. But that's one thing that's going to bunch this field back up, and you're going to see a lot of different strategies, I think, whether you just take tires, whether you just take fuel, because all these guys took mental notes. As we have a battle up front, Corey Heim has just moved Deucer out of the way, almost had 3 wide down into the bus stop.
98 of Sora looking forward to a pass. Heim is going to send it through the bus stop and go side by side. You don't see that often through this race, and Corey Deucer is going to hold on to a magnificent job from both of them to keep it collected. The 98 forces his nose to the inside of the 11. He'll get the door almost shut. It's going to stay ajar, and it's going to open up the exit of the carousel. The 98 will have the push from Reed Wilson in the 66 for turn 7, and this battle to the caution break is not done quite yet. They're going to remain side by side for P2. Deucer now falls back a bit. They were almost 3 wide. Can't wait for turn 1. Deucer's going to shut the door on the bottom. Heim with a power move up top as Corey Deucer is going to come down pit road. He locks up the brakes and he is in. He brings others with him. Monteferrante and Nick Olsen will follow, and they'll have a 4th truck, Adam Cabot. So 4 trucks in, 3 laps before the caution break.
So if they want to pit before this break, they're going to have to do it this time by, because they're going to shut down pit road with 2 laps to go, similar to the way they do in NASCAR at the stage break. So I think that's a big gamble, I think, for Corey Deucer, because he's going to be at least 2 or 3 laps behind everyone else fuel-wise.
keep an eye on him. He's fallen through to 17th. Timer still going up on his trip to pit road. Meanwhile, three-way battle for the lead on the back straightaway. Sora gets bounced around a bit. He'll go side by side with Wilson entering the bus stop. Corey Heim will still have the race lead for now in the 66 truck. What a move to get through second place. Now Miranda tries to fight with Presley Sora for what appears to be third. We'll have the pit road entry to close and 2 laps to go before the break at lap 20. So here we go for lap number 18. Corey Deucer, by the way, Decon, 25 seconds on his stop. He definitely had full service all the way down, and this is potentially a call for track position when the caution comes out, no doubt about it.
We'll see if anyone comes down pit road here, as they're going to close pit road this time by. I don't think we'll have any takers, at least through the top 10. Will Rogers in the wall, as everyone is getting very irritated about people not calling out pits, and I think Connor Berry might get a penalty because it was awful close when they closed pit road, when he entered pit road. I mean, we'll have to see if he ended up getting one, but it was awful close as pit road is now closed.
It was race control Paul Sutton who closed pit road. We do have an update that Connor Berry did not receive a penalty, so he will come down pit road, will get that service, and he will exit before the caution is out without a problem at all. We are still building up this fight for the race lead. Corey Heim in front, Reed Wilson through to second. Miranda has dropped to third after being as high as second through this battle. And it appears Presley Sora got bounced out of the way. He and Ronnie Osmer went way sideways in turn 1 about a lap or so ago, and Sora has fallen to 7th at the tail end of this main pack. They've got a good amount of distance before you get to Ryan Vargas, trapped in 8th, DJ Cummings in 9th, and Joshua Slate. How about car number 01? Started in 26th, and he's up to 11th. Reed Wilson now powering on the outside. They overshoot turn 7, and here comes Miranda.
Looks like Corey Heim's having some connectivity issues, as they will see the imaginary white flag here before we get the competition yellow. They will throw that as soon as whoever is leading crosses the line. As they head down to 1, man, it's going to be a big battle here in this next lap or so.
And Will Rogers, the Flying Hawaiian, started 12th in this race, and now he's up to the top 3. He's knocking on the door. He'll bump to the back of the 11, who gets sideways off the exit of the 90. We've got 4 or 5 trucks in it for the stage break. Heim is still there for the S's. They're going to rumble and are on the exit going up the hill. 1 truck is sideways. That was Ronnie Osmer there with Presley Sora in the 98. They are still not done with it. Miranda's going to hold on to the lead. 3 wide on the backstretch.
Oh, is it going to work? Somebody's going to have to back out. Oh, wow. James Bickford, what a move to go 3 wide, and he made it. I don't know how they didn't wreck.
The Napa, California driver has punched his name into the conversation after starting in 23rd. The defending winner in this race is going to try and break the top 2. He's going to get Corey Heim this time by through turn 7, and as they cross the stripe, it will be the end of the first sector of the race. Here from the Glen, the 29 dives it on the 11. Heim looks for a crossover. Miranda, the Oklahoma native, looks in the rearview mirror and say, I'll bring us to the caution flag. No problemo. Miranda out of the final corner will cross the line, and the caution will wave in just a matter of moments. We'll wait for race control to throw it. The 89 crosses the stripe. There's Barney the flagman to display that yellow banded flag, and we are under rest. 20 laps into the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge here from Watkins Glen. More to come on the other side of the break. We've seen a lot of action so far, and there's probably more once we get to that second stage. You're watching coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series on Podium Esports.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. It's brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all your roofing needs. To learn more about their services, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach10 Digital, your partner for studying video production and digital marketing solutions, and where innovation meets creativity. On our caution break here from the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge on Podium Esports, Kenneth Bueno and Dylan Connolly with you for the action. Ryan Bauer, our producer tonight, he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Dylan, it's been a showdown at the front. We have seen many different names come up in conversation, but the same common thread arises each and every time. They are still going at it 150%. We have pit stops here at lap 21. We do have some takers, but many guys who pitted earlier going to stay out.
Yeah, the main one right now is Colin Fern will assume the lead here. I had to laugh at what Ryan Vargas said as they were coming to the state or the break there. He's like, yeah, you guys realize we're not giving away stage points, right? I mean, you thought it was the end of the race coming to the break there, but it was good, hard racing, a lot of give and take and a lot of pushing and shoving, but it seemed like, you know, that's going to be a fun sign for them in this race.
They've been all over the place, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. But one of those who's been in the heart of the action is Reed Wilson. Reed, first of all, welcome to the Podium Esports broadcast booth. We'll talk about this JoeySucks.shop paint scheme a little later. But for now, you've had the first stage done here from Watkins Glen. Your thoughts and what you've been able to gather over this hectic race.
Yeah, man, first I got to thank the boys back at JoeySucks.shop. They put together a good piece for us. I mean, honestly, it was kind of sit and wait with Joey, and then kind of on brand, my teammate Joey, he sped in pit road. So once again, he sucks. Kind of lost my partner there, and now we're just battling through the field. We got a strategy I think will play out, but we'll just have to see.
You know, I didn't think you would add a Joey Sucks plug there, just right in the middle of that answer, but yes, indeed, Joey Padgett's not going to be near you on this restart, but you are going to be inside the top 12 on the outskirts of the top 10 as we look at the paint scheme. Ryan Bauer giving us some good shots of it, but we're 21 laps in. The strategy unfolded in a very interesting way. Now we've got around 30 or so laps for this stint. What seems to be your plan and mindset going into it now that you've got some laps on your belt?
Yeah, I think it's brave that these boys didn't pit. I mean, we got some freshy-weshies on her, and we're going to rip through the field with the 29. My strategy kind of has gone out the window. I'm going to pit when the iRacing thing tells me to pit and just go from there.
All right, well, it's a good position you've got here to the green flag. We know there are many drivers who stayed out, so you'll be able to probably get through them in this stage of the race. Last question before we let you go on the green flag restart here from the Glen. I did look on JoeySucks.shop, and as Dylan alluded to, it is a real website. You guys used to have stuff on there. Might I ask why the banner is $70.60 particularly?
Well, that's a Joey Sucks Deluxe banner. You could also buy a small piece of paper for approximately $5. It's an 8x10 if the budget just doesn't allow, right?
All right. Well, I'm going to keep a note that if we ever have another Monday Night Racing in-person event, I know either somebody or myself is going to pull up with that JoeySucks.shop warm hoodie for $44.33 US. So, Reed, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. We've appreciated the time. You've been killing it out there very fast on the racetrack. We'll see you then.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Reed Wilson, driver of the JoeySucks.shop number 66. Dylan, I can't believe he said the whole Joey Padgett. He sped on pit road and then Joey Sucks. Just emphasizing that Joey sucks. He does not suck. Great driver, a great person off the track, but, you know, a little running joke they've got there.
Yeah, that is a big running joke. We had a development while we were away at break as we're one to go as their 2x2. This will be a fun restart. Corey Heim's now lapped down. He ran out of gas at the lap after we took the caution, and he was getting a little push, and then he got turned into the wall. So he had to get a tow, and it was a long way around this racetrack. So he is now one lap down. He's the only car lap down, I believe. So unless Corey Heim can complete a full lap ahead of everyone in the next 30 laps, I mean, he's in some trouble.
Yeah, Heim was floating around the top 10 for most of tonight. And like we talked about, there are going to be no cautions after this unless there is an absolute track blocker, which could provide the opportunity for Highland to get back on the lead lap, but for now, a lap down, it's pretty shaky, pretty spooky there for car number 11. He'll be at the very back of the field. Colin Fern will lead us to green with Bailey Turner on the outside. First time that Turner has seen space at the front row for most of the night after starting in 16th. So for these guys, a bit of opportunity to get to the front and lead a couple of laps. Green flag back in the air in the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge from the Glen. Fern will shut the door before Turner even thinks about it going to turn 1. They are braking 3 to 4 wide. Entering the first corner, they'll slide up onto the runoff. Fern is going to use all of the real estate, and Ford Martin gets to second. He'll look for the lead through the S's. Car around, and a winner, Bailey Turner, flipping wildly through the S's. And still going around, still going up and over. He'll land on his side. And there is no caution. He is the only truck involved.
Oh my goodness, and we stay green as I believe that was Bailey Turner. They got turned. Alex Monteferrante got into him just a hair, but they were true to their word. It was only one car that it looked like they just wheel hopped each other. And it sent Bailey Turner flipping through the field, and it caused mass chaos, but we stay green.
Just made that slight contact exiting turn 1 and going up the hill. And they got the right sides lifted completely off the ground, and that was enough to send Bailey Turner flipping wildly through the field. And he did make some contact. The 41 of Stallneck I saw did get into him as the 5 was flying over the field, and he lands on his roof, and it appears he might be the first DNF tonight from the Glen. We'll take another look at it. Dylan, take us through what happens here to truck number 5.
It just ran out of room, it looked like, as they're side by side. These wheels stick out just enough where if you get a little wheel contact, that it created a big issue as he was flipping and barrel rolling, pirouetting through the S's. I mean, it was a very graceful sight as he's still rolling right now, but he's missing the front end. He's missing a lot of things on that car. And Paul Sutton's giving the explanation right now, and he said that since it was not a track blocking accident, they wanted to keep it consistent because that was just a one-car accident, but I don't think that's going to be just the most popular decision in the world as you're on board with Ford Martin trying to make a move on Colin Fern to the bus stop.
Ford Martin looking on the rear bumper. Brandon Houff making a move on the inside. And how about Houff from 19th to 4th? Currently in our top 5, 4 of them started 10th or worse in this race. The drivers who started further down the field than the others include Martin in 17th, and of course the aforementioned Houff, who started 19th at the green flag. Ford Martin is going to have to deal with that 9 truck going for turn 7. It's a 3-truck pack rather, going into the corner. Houff darts below on the 07. The Mach10 digital machine will back out, so Brandon Houff, the Great Esports truck, will move into second as Alex Monteferrante and Corey Dusser, the 2 Speed Factor trucks, try to get back into the top 5. But you're right there was some discussion about why that was not a yellow through race control, but it appears Turner, like you said, the only truck involved in that, A, and B, he was flipping so much through the air that most of the field got by him anyway. It wasn't necessarily a full-on track blocker like you see if most of the trucks were on the ground. Bailey Turner's freak accident does not bring out the yellow, and Brandon Houff slides underneath Colin Fern. He takes away the lead halfway through the race.
Yeah, that is one thing that they mentioned in the driver's meeting and when I talked to them before the race, that unless it's a track blocker, meaning cars are having to come to a stop and they are not able to come around it, which is what track blocker means, they are not going to throw the yellow. So they're going to let these guys race for the most part and just let them go. So at the end of the day, by the book, I think that was a good decision by race control there. It's probably not a popular one because if you have guys like Corey Heim who need to get a lap back and that would have helped him, or you have a guy like Ryan Vargas who's been pack as, could tell that got hooked, is I think they kept it straight, but they're still wrecking back there. But I think that was a good decision at the end of the day.
That was Ford Martin who got hit entering the carousel by Will Rogers, got sent sideways, and as the rest of the field went around, he about got into the 17 of Adam Cabot, then hit the 24 of Nick Olson, swerving all over the place. But Martin, the Tennessee native, is back in action. He'll flip the 10 over.
Oh my goodness.
Cummings gets hit at the exit of turn 7, and he flips hellaciously through the barriers, and he'll land on it right where the fencing is on the outside of the corner near the gravel traps, and the 10 is stuck. And once again, no yellow was thrown.
Again, probably another good call. He was just spinning, pirouetting into the runoff area as DJ He's going to land it. He's going to kind of a weird little spot, fork-tailed a little bit, just caught him with the wheel once again. Another one of those that we saw earlier is if you touch wheels, you can go flying in the air. As I think DJ Cummins, it's going to look like Ryan Preece did a couple weeks ago after his flip at Daytona. He's going to have big rings under his eyes after that one as he beaches it on top of the wall, and looks like he had to tow.
One thing about these Pro 2 trucks, especially with these tires and suspension, is that they do get very bouncy as they drive around the track. So if you do end up in a flip like that, chances are the flip is not going to end for a while. You're still going to be flipping for a good amount of time before you land it, either on your roof like Turner did, or on all fours in some sort of trap like DJ Cummings found here with 25 laps to go. A look on the rear flaps of Adam Cabot into 17, or rear fans as we'll call it. He's trying to defend against James Bickford, and while Adam Cabot felt that he was robbed of a championship in Season 6, he has come to Season 7 in full force and full swing, grabbing that win with the next gens at Daytona in crazy fashion on the last lap, and Cabot is looking for some sort of revenge here throughout Season 7, even if it's not a statement made tonight. Consistency is going to be the factor for him as we'll look further back through the field. Reed Wilson in the 66, who we talked to, is back through the top 10, and looking at Christopher Tate, that's for 9th.
So we do have an update. Bailey Turner has pulled the car behind the wall. He's getting a lot of damage fixed, so I believe he will finish in at least 29th position as Corey Himes moved into the top 28 now. As if he was being scored on the lead lap, he'd be currently in 12th position right now. And just look at Reed Wilson. He's in the wall as he got pinched into the wall by that American flag machine, as that was almost big.
That was Christopher Tate in the number 30, one of the members of the 3F racing team that allowed Ryan Vargas to go racing for 2 starts in the Whelen Euro Series, most recently at Circuit Zolder. And Tate was all over the place through the SS. He'll go through the grass and might accrue that off-track incident point, which is something that we'll bring up over the course of the race, probably later on, but we'll touch on it right now. The fact that there is incident limits being given to these drivers, and there are incident points awarded to those who go off track and end up in a place where I believe there's actually no limit given by race control, so that won't necessarily be a factor, but you still consider incident points when you're going off track, you hit a wall, you make contact with somebody on the track. So you saw Christopher Tate grab a bit of the grass. Not the first time we've seen it from the Glen. We'll cross the line, 23 to go. Brandon House, Corey Deucer, Monteferrante. Your top 3 is here comes the 04, challenging on the inside of the 9. House will drift wide. The 97 looked at 3 wide for a moment. Now we've got a 4-truck pack back up the hill.
Yeah, you see a lot of these guys, I think they did turn off the track limit, so the only places that you would probably get them here at Watkins Glen would be turn 1, which is the 90-degree turn, and then turn 6. And the only way that it's judged as a exceeding track limits is if you have 4 wheels off the edge of the red and yellow spotted or striped curbing. So that's the only way it'll be an off track. So I think they're being real religious about that, where they're just letting a lot go, and if someone wants to go that far, they're still at the mercy of the time penalties if they have one. But that's completely up to their discretion.
Here's Nick Olson, driver of the 24. Look on the rear flaps of the 29, James Bickford, in that fight with Monteferrante in the 97 for position number 4. And Bickford found his way in a pretty interesting way through the field. He just sort of racked up track position as the night has gone. Just as much chaos has been happening around the track, and strategy also helped him as well. But how about James Bickford?
Brandon Houff, we have
the biggest movers in is, yeah, you're right, Brandon Houff is going to come in for pit road.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. We had a few that were announcing a little late that they were coming down pit road, and possibly a strategy call here. I think everyone is going to have to pit, not including this next time, but at least one more time in this race. So we'll see how this turns out as Brandon Houff comes down pit road. I believe that's also Christopher Tate. So I think you'll start to see a wave of cars coming down here shortly, like we saw on lap 12 where the whole field came down.
Steve Alfont, the 3rd truck there as well. And when you look at Brandon Houff, I mean, he's taking the early strategy that guys like Nick Olson did in the first stint. He learned a bit from that and probably using it to his advantage as Will Rogers will look to the outside for the lead on Corey Deucer. And Nick Olson will have a good look at the fight for 3rd and for 1st and slides up. Will Rogers to the race lead in front of Deucer. Nice pass to the bus stop.
That's a good-looking number 7 machine there. It says 65 on the front, but he's the number 7 truck. As they're flying along here, I don't think there's a truck in this field that doesn't have at least a dent on their machine. As a lot of people have been leaning on each other all night.
We have, and there's a look at Heim, who's trapped the lap down 28th. He's trying to unlap himself here. This will help as drivers are signaling slowly but surely that they are coming down. One of those is Corey Deucer in the 04. He will bring his teammate Monteferrante with him. Cabot and Olsen will go in that 4-truck train to come in. They all pack it up just a little bit, but they are all safe and in for now with 21 laps to go. And Dylan, for this race to go as strategic as it has been through the first 20 and now here with 21 laps to go, if you're a driver, what are you keeping in mind as you make this final pit stop happen?
Well, I'm trying to make this a very just solid and nice pit stop. Just get through the box and do the opposite of what Michael Fisher's right now as he is spun out. He spun out getting into his box. He missed his box, had to back up, so he might have a change of strategy. But just get off pit road easy, get off pit road easy, and you'll be in pretty good shape. I think a lot of them will be. And Bickford has assumed lead now, but I don't think that they're done pitting. I think they're going to have at least one more stop, maybe depending on how they save. But I'd imagine if they can go 16 laps. I think enough people saved under that last caution. I think they could probably come close to making it at the end, depending how they'd go.
So do you believe here with that group, the 4-truck train that came down pit road, are they going to have to save heavily, or are they waiting for, let's say, them to gain the track position, then come to pit again and have the advantage later in the race?
It's really hard to tell. I think you're going to have to do some saving, but obviously they all know better than I do. I just ran a couple laps, and it's pretty close to a 20-lap window, so I think that could be stretched to 22, or depending how hard you push, you could be down to 18 as you're on board with Mario Miranda there in that beautifully colored machine. But I think that's what you'll see here is you might see enough saving, and then as soon as they know that they can make it to lap 50, then they're just going to go. Because there's no green, white checkers in this, because it's going to finish under green, again, unless there's a big track blocking incident.
For the pitters, they're all coming in. Corey Heim, the lap truck, is included in that. Reed Wilson is going to stay out. It's going to be a couple of trucks that will remain on the racetrack at a total of around, I'd say, 15 to 16 trucks that are going to stay out, but more of them are coming in this time through. Presley Sora and company are going to exit pit road. Connor Berry, a couple of others, but Reed Wilson is going to lead this race. And that was the magic number for some of your former leaders, for Bickford, for Rogers, even for Corey Heim, a lap down. 20 laps to go was the marker. Reed Wilson, though, who's on 10 laps for his stint, he is going to let out a little bit longer. Stallneck and Patchett round out the current top 3. So this is going to get rather unique here, Decon, as to when the 66 is going to find his way to pit road. We'll watch out of turn 8, and he clings to that yellow line. So he is coming in this time by, and that's going to make it dramatically close to that pit road window like you alluded to.
Again, we'll just have to see how it goes for everyone. I mean, the best way to know is we're going to find out, I guess you would say. But it's, I think everyone that's pitted in the last 2 laps, Brandon Brown's assumed the lead. I think they're all good, but I think those ones that may be pitted a lap early, they might have to save just a hair. But it's going to be fun to see how this plays out in the last 18 laps.
So Brandon Brown will assume the race lead. Josh Slate and Jordan Buster round out the top 3 as we look further back. How about Gary Sexton, driver of the number 3? We haven't discussed much of his night overall. He started in 21st, and he currently is in what appears to be 13th on the racetrack. My timing says 23rd, but he's sort of cycling out in the middle of this entire pit road strategy. But what a beautiful paint scheme for Sexton. He cooked up one for Brett Baldick, too, driver of the 4. These Halloween-inspired paints just the night before that sacred October 31st day, tomorrow evening. And so the 3 getting into the spooky spirit, and was a producer on the Groovy Hollow 3 broadcast we had on this channel with the Eric Estep collaboration there on Out of the Groove. And there's a look at Baldick's number 4 machine. The spooky colors are in full force here with these 2.
Yeah, pretty spooky machine here as we're closing in about 4 to 3 hours away, depending where you're at in the country, from Halloween. coming up tomorrow. That's why we had those interesting costumes at the top of the broadcast. But yeah, it's a very, very festive machine here as I still have more guys coming down pit road. Jordan Buster is electing to come down pit road. Joshua Slade also. So I think those were the last that have not pitted, if I am looking at everything correctly. But we'll see. That should be the last stop. I think a lot of people haven't heard anything otherwise, but we'll see how this plays out to the end.
I'm trying to see where the drivers came down pit road. The last time we were here was a while ago, and for most of them, they pitted at around 15 to 12 laps to go in the race. So we might just see that come into the foreground here with the strategy, especially those who are staying out as long as they have, just to kind of eye in on what exactly they're going to plan for this stint of the race, how long they're willing to go, and of course how track position is going to be determined as a result. James Bickford had the race lead. He has stepped into third, even out of pit road. So Bickford has put himself in a promising position, while guys like Adam Cabot, Nick Olsen, Alex Monteferrate, Corey Deucer, you name it, those guys a little bit trapped through the top 10 and top 15. So time is going to start to wind down here. Strategy is going to unfold greatly for those who have stayed out just a little bit longer. As Brandon Brown, the race leader, he comes into pit road. Brad Baldick, who has assumed second in the motorscape truck, he also comes in. James Bickford will have the race lead this time by with 17 laps to go.
Remember what I said earlier about James Bickford just kind of appearing out of thin air in a lot of these races? Well, it's happened again. Because he has had a really quiet race into the start of this, and then now look at him. He's sitting there in the lead right now with about 16 laps to go. Take a look at Corey Heim. He's trying to unlap himself as he has worked his way from the back of the field, and now Corey Heim is now back on the lead lap. So now if there's a track blocking interval, Corey Heim's back in business.
This is good news for the 11. He had a top 10 run building up before that incident where he basically just got taken out of the lead lap contention. And so the Marietta, Georgia native, who picked up a win last week at Michigan, will be looking for at least some solid points here from the Glen. He's going to try and work for it for all that he's got. James Bickford, by the way, started this race inside the top 5. Last time we were here, he started rather in P5, then finished in the race lead up front, grabbed his first checkered flag. Tonight, though, he's definitely had a tougher route to the front. 23rd is where he grabbed the green flag tonight, Decon, and now he's in the race lead by about 7/10 of a second over Brandon Houff with 17 to go. So Bickford, just like you said, has worked for it over the night. He's put himself in promising position as we'll ride on board with Miranda taking a look and a stab at Will Rogers. They're getting physical.
Chase Bickford just went over the radio about earlier this lap saying, I'm going to work with you, Corey Heim, or something along those lines, and he's gonna try to keep Corey on the lead lap as long as he can, but he's also going to use him to his advantage because Corey Heim, he's got race-winning speed and pace. You know, of course, he's a lap down right now, but that was kind of through no fault of his own that he's in that position. As you know, James Bickford said, hey, I'll be your friend here till you're not my friend.
You work with him up until either competition behind gets to him, or if, let's say, pit strategy ends up in a favorable position for him, because as he's hanging behind the 11, he's going to be saving fuel. He's not going to waste 100% full throttle here, especially on places like the back straightaway. He has that opportunity to lay off the gas pedal and save some key drops of fuel that could take him further in the race. So not only is this a strategy call for position, sort of as a buffer between himself and Brandon Houff, and make things harder for Houff in the 9 truck, but also for the 29 to extend his stint up at the front and just ensure that he can last a little bit longer than he would if, let's say, Corey Heim was not there in front of him.
One thing we forgot to mention, there's 2 names that haven't appeared tonight that are not in the race, and it's both the Cabries. They've been big parts of these races. They've been running up front, and I know Chase had a fun weekend. The Truck Series was off, but he popped the question to his longtime girlfriend Haley Deegan, and they're about to get married here pretty soon. So congratulations to them. But that's a set of big names that we haven't seen tonight. Are both the Cabries, and I imagine they're out celebrating that.
They're out having a lot of fun. They deserve it. Congratulations to Chase Cabry and Haley Deegan. Hopefully they have a long and healthy relationship through the future. Very awesome to see them happy together. I mean, Ford Martin also got engaged very recently. He popped the question, had himself on one knee on the beach, saw his Instagram post, very happy for Ford Martin, and really excited for what him and that relationship will have in the future as Ford moves forward. And certainly Ford Martin has had a wild race tonight. Now he is falling quite a bit through the field. He is 23rd, sitting behind Josh Layton, the 01, but Ford Martin has seen his fair share of action at front. Decon, so I guess it just shows you that diversity through the field has been up front at some point in this race, and it shows you just how far things have changed, or how much things have changed as we get to 15 to go.
Yeah, it's getting down to the nitty-gritty. It's not as packed and compact together as it was before, but this is the longest that we've been racing under green. We only went 20 laps at first, and we're now on lap 23 since we hit the restart. But with a mix of green flag pit stop and just strategy where everyone's at, everyone's kind of spaced out here. So it's becoming really spread out, is I guess what you could say in the short form. Is DJ Cummings, Corey Heim getting hooked up front here, as Corey Heim has had to do a hellacious flip going through turn 6 about 10 laps ago. He's got the truck moving again, so good to see that. But as we're back up front here, looks like James Bickford's still in the lead. Reed Wilson behind by about a second.
And if you're Reed Wilson, you're around 7/10 behind the race leader. Now you've got a lap truck in the mix in Cummings, the driver of the 10. Corey Heim might be the next if Bickford decides to get around him. Whenever the chance is that he is good on fuel, for Wilson, this is going to be a pretty interesting challenge, although Cummings is going to let him by on the back straightaway, so it will just open this door further for truck number 66. But as for strategy, into 14 laps to go, these guys are now around 5 to 6 laps in their stint. Wilson and Bickford are, so they could be okay to the end of this race, but it now might be a matter of trying to save as much as possible and race for pit road then, or just hold out as long as you can physically and then just hope that it all sticks.
I mean, that's really all you can do. A lot of these, I think pretty much every car in the field, their bed's made. So, I mean, if that was their last stop, that's their last stop. I mean, if they have to pit again, their race is pretty much over. If there's a few cars in the field that are planning to make one more stop, then, that's just the bed that they're going to lay in, so to speak. But I am fairly certain I think everyone is done coming down pit road.
I'm curious to witness what Ronnie Osmer, what Brandon Haupt is going to do these 9 laps into his stint, Corey Deucer, what they're going to do as well, just because they've put more laps on their tank of fuel. How close are they going to get to the very checkered flag of this race? How will that affect points scenarios with guys like Adam Cabot further back there, Ryan Vargas, Colin Fern, Nick Olson, all of them either trying to continue success through the season or build success slowly over time? It's going to matter a lot if they all come down pit road, and how that's going to factor into that run for the playoffs and that March Madness style bracket we'll see later this year. And Reed Wilson has caught up to the leader. All that movement there with DJ Cummings and Corey Heim and Bickford saving behind the 11 has opened the door for the 66. Now he's in the draft.
Yeah, Reed's our in-race reporter, so he's chugging along right there. But, you look at a lot of guys in the field. Points are important, like Nick Olson, 10th place right now, Ryan Vargas 11th, Colin Fern 12th. Those are good points days because you're finishing pretty close to a top 10 out of this 30-car field, and you want those kind of races because now it's based off of who the top 16 in points are going into the playoffs instead of we're going to take the winners and then we're going to fill the rest of it with points. So now if you just keep racking up top 10s, top 8s, pretty good finishes like a lot of these guys are capable of doing, you'll find yourself in the playoffs pretty easily, and then, who knows?
And a lot of names in this current top 10 in the running order are names in the current top 10 through the points standings. Adam Cabot and Nick Olson through the last couple of weeks have been able to gain around 9 or so positions on the field in standings. Cabot leads with a total of what appears to be, I'll count the actual points here, there would be 90 for Adam Cabot, 81 for Nick Olson, 78 tied for third between Bailey Turner and Reed Wilson. How about this one for truck number 66. He went plus 16 after last week's race at Michigan, where he's now got third tied in the standings. This would be a monumental day for him. Even if he doesn't win, gets him that much closer to Nick Olsen and Cabot, while also getting away from Bailey Turner, who suffered that crazy flip earlier in the race at the S's. And since he's out of contention, Reed Wilson can take advantage.
I like the message Paul Sutton, one of our race control directors, just sent through the field and said, just a reminder, intentional wrecking will be a disqualification from the event. So I think he's planning on some stuff being dished out here over the final 11 or 12 laps of this race.
Just trying to watch over the entire field, but look at this up front, Dylan. Corey Heim, who has helped the 29 save fuel for a bulk of this stint, he has come down pit road, and there are more takers behind them. Alex Monteferrante is in, Ryan Vargas is in, Nick Olsen, Will Rogers, Brandon Half are in as well. So this is the final stop for them at 10 laps to go here from the Glen. More question marks surrounding your top two and how long they can stay on the track.
So I guess they couldn't make it. So my thought process was, well, they made it to 16 laps, so I think that really means you could probably stretch it to 20. But my gut was telling me that they would have to all pit again one more time, and they have to pit, obviously. And we'll see how this shakes out. You know, it's not a for sure thing, as you know, you can go pretty fast down this access road. As a few guys, you know, one guy just made up a spot on the access road, and we're again, we're coming down to the nitty-gritty, less than 10 laps to go. And if you have a big mess up pit road, that could be the end of your race for a guy like James Bickford or Reed Wilson or Mario Miranda up here running this top three. So they have to make sure that they're on their P's and Q's as they go on pit road.
They have to have that mental acuity at an all-time high, and I'm hearing chatter over the radio. Miranda says he's coming in, so is the race leader, and so is the Greer, South Carolina native of Reed Wilson. So they are in with around 10 laps to go. Corey Deucer is going to come in as well. Joey Padgett in the 83, though, is going the alternative route. He's going to stay out and he's at least one extra lap after pitting around 9 laps ago. Presley Sora, Connor Berry will take over second and third. There is no clear favorite in the winning laps of the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge tonight.
Like I said, it's about the same situation every week. You look at someone and think, man, they're just dominating this race. Like Presley Sora early in this race, he was just dominating. You look at Colin Fern, he was dominating for a little bit. James Bickford's been dominating lately. So there's a whole handful of cars that, you know, you could say, well, they were dominating at some point in this race, and then suddenly they're like 6th or 7th places. Presley Sora just got a shot from behind by, that was Connor Berry, as they head down to the bus stop. And we're at 9 laps to go, or coming to 9 laps to go. I have no clue who's going to win this race.
And through the current top 5, only one is a previous Monday Night Racing Pro Series winner, and that is Presley Sora in the 98. Nobody else in that group has been able to find victory lane in their entire careers. Joey Padgett, he's been close, but he's never gotten the cigar. Sora, of course, has. He's got 2 wins from last season. Connor Berry in the 02, he had his rookie campaign in season 6. Not too much success, sort of hit a rocky road, but he's trying to recover. Gary Sexton, who was really close to his first MNR win a while back in Knoxville, he's looking for his first. Same deal for Josh Slate, but they're all going to come in, so that will shuffle the position once more. Reed Wilson and James Bickford, by the way, are in turn 7 and 8. They look for the net race lead, and they're going at it.
Joey Padgett still has yet to pit, but I imagine he's going to pit either this time or next time by. So yeah, this is for the race right here. It's James Bickford, Reed Wilson, Mario Miranda up here, and it's going to get dicey here in the last 9 or 10 laps.
A look on board with the Tulsa, Oklahoma native of Miranda, who said before this race on X, he said, this new paint scheme has me feeling some kind of way, feeling really good about tonight, saying hopefully that they can break through some of the bad luck that Miranda has experienced in his short but successful Monday Night Racing career to this point. He's looking for his first Pro Series career win. Bickford is going to hold out in front. There are around 4 trucks that are going to stay out: Padgett, Brown, Slate, and Buster. So we'll keep an eye on them with 9 laps to go, as there's Brown looking underneath Slate for second.
Joshua Slate out here, he's making the moves. He's looking pretty stout here pretty late. As again, Joey Padgett, I believe, looks like he is coming down this time. So Joey Padgett will give up the lead. Joshua Slate and Brandon Brown, remember, they pitted, so they're awful close to being able to make it here. As Slate and Brown are going to be side by side into 6, as Jordan Buster not far behind him. They all pitted on lap 32, and Brandon Brown pitted on lap 33, so they're awful close to being able to make it.
We'll watch for those two. Slate floats up high, Brown does the same, and so does Jordan Buster. So they are not coming in this time through. And Joey Padgett, by the way, the 83 is in, so Josh Slate in the 01 will take control of the race lead, but he's got a fight on his hands because Brandon Brown is not going anywhere. The Ashland, Virginia native of Slate is doing his best to hold the defense out front.
He's doing a heck of a job defending up here. Again, Joshua Slate, I love the top of his truck. If there was any way we can get that, instead of a 01 on the top of it, it just says in text 01. So that's pretty funny looking right there, as they are nose to tail. Look who's joined the party. Old James Bickford has joined this party as they head down to the bus stop. As Bickford's joined this party, Reed Wilson's in there, Mario Miranda, and I think Jordan Buster just said, yeah, you guys go get him. So this is a combination of old and new tires that are going to meet in the middle here in about a lap or so.
Yeah, Buster tried to block for a moment on the back straightaway, but just had not the greatest entry into the bus stop, so then just decided, you guys are faster, I'll let you guys through, no problem. Buster does fall back to P6, but he'll have a good amount of space before he gets to Will Rogers in the 7, who is currently 7th at the moment. And we'll look on board with Wilson, who sits 4th right now. We are still going at it for the lead. The 2 leaders dart up the track to 29. It goes down. Slate is looking for pit road. Battle for the lead still ongoing. Bickford to the front.
What a move by James Bickford, as we're not done yet. Reed Wilson's going to look to the inside in turn 1, but he was staring at sand barrels coming off that last turn as they made it work, as Josh Slate had to come down pit road. And oh my goodness, that was exciting.
That was really confusing there for Slate. He was stuck in the middle, 3 wide, and saying, hey guys, I need to come in. I don't have enough fuel to get to the end of this race. Please guys, let me through. He hops on the brakes, and luckily everyone else escapes without making significant contact, but Slate just slowed down quite a bit at that entry to pit road. Now Reed Wilson has a shot at the lead. He'll back out entering the bus stop. He'll give a bit of a tap to James Bickford, might unsettle him through the bumps. And Miranda not too far behind in 3rd. Now Brandon Brown in 4th place. He is still yet to pit. 10 laps on his stint. We should see him sort of relinquish track position and fall through the field as he comes in for his final stop of the race. But this is going to be the battle set up, Decon, with 6 laps to go when we cross the stripe.
Man, I don't think this is over. I mean, you got 3 guys up here in this front little pack. I think it's really a 3-horse race between Bickford, Wilson, and Miranda. Now, Brandon Brown, he's still going to hang around. Corey Heim, he's still a lap down, but then you have this next pack. Will Rogers, Joey Padgett, and then kind of Brandon Houff and Nick Olson, Ryan Vargas, and all these guys. But I really think it's just going to be a 3-horse race as Brandon Brown comes down pit road. The lead for his final pit stop. And we're coming to 5 to go this time by.
So there goes Brown in the Sim Seats Pro 2 truck. He comes in for his final stop with 6 laps to go from the Glen. This is your top 3. They are around 5.2 seconds ahead of the 4th place truck, Will Rogers, as we look on board with Miranda. Look how much he's having to fight behind the wheel, sideways through the bumps on the S's, and in his sim rig as focused as ever. Top 3 all clustered around half a second.
They are fighting through this bus stop. They're cutting the grass. They're doing everything. I don't believe there's going to be any grass left at that bus stop at the end of this race, but this is still a 3-headed monster, as they got about a 6-second lead back to Will Rogers and Joey Padgett in 4th and 5th. But I mean, James Bickford he's not out of this. I mean, he's got a little bit of a lead there, about 0.3 of a second, but this is going to get interesting because you can send these trucks pretty hard into corners, as you see Reed Wilson do it there going into turn 6. But Mario Miranda also catches up to him, so it's really going to be about who wants to drive in the corners deeper.
But it also might be about the draft and where you're positioned in this top 3. Because if you're James Bickford, Decon, do you want to be up front? Do you want to be in the catbird seat waiting for the 66 and 89 to strike in your rearview mirror, or would you rather be in a position like Wilson or Miranda where you're hanging back for the moment to strike?
I don't know, the way that I've always wanted to be, there's two sides of that coin. You can be like, well, I'm up here, I'm probably the best truck up here, so I kind of like leading, but there's also something to chasing a guy down. Like if you're Reed Wilson, you know, putting pressure on James Bickford, you know, if you can get up close to him, maybe force him into a mistake, where there's really not a whole lot of pressure right now on Reed Wilson or Mario Miranda. It's all James Bickford. He's going to have two guys breathing down his neck for the last 4.5 laps of this race, where, you know, one little mess up and then James Bickford will find himself in third, or, you know, depending how that goes, even further back.
Now, the good news for Bickford is that he does have clean air. So while Wilson and Miranda sort of have to work around the turbulent air that the Charlotte Phoenix truck is giving them in the race lead, Bickford has clean air out front. He has nobody in sight, at least in terms of the next couple seconds is concerned. There might be lap traffic at some point in this race, but coming to 4 laps to go, that might not be a factor that will decide the winner at the checkered flag. Bickford will come out the final corner. He'll approach 4 laps to go, and that might be his best lap in comparison to the rest of the top 3. Reed Wilson, as he crosses the stripe, his last 1:25.1. Bickford at the same pace, but Bickford had a lot of gap to deal with at the exit of the last corner.
If you want to even get further than that, they ran the exact same lap that last time by. They both ran a 1:25.149, and Mario Miranda ran a 1:25.190, so they ran identical laps that last time by.
And Wilson has been over the radio. He's been talking around through the Monday Night Racing chat in sim, and might also be just addressing this top 3, talking about the scenario in hand. And Wilson, who we talked to at that competition caution at lap 20, definitely learned a lot in that first stint. Him and Joey Padgett as teammates for Team Joyride, working together. But even ever since Joey Padgett sort of left contention after a pit road speeding penalty, Reed Wilson has been able to keep himself honest up front and has been one of the fastest trucks on the track. Not to say that Padgett hasn't recovered himself, though. He's into the top 5 and right behind Will Rogers, so that's not over yet for position. But for Reed Wilson, man up front all race long, now having to get by a fast Charlotte Phoenix number 29, looking for his 2nd straight win here at this track, as Nick Olsen is sideways. And watch this battle through the top 10.
It's getting real dicey back there. It's actually kind of tame up here in the top 3, but they're still pretty close together. But it's getting a little hairy back there from about where Colin Fern's at all the way back to Connor Berry. And it's getting a little fun all over the field. But again, I don't think this race is just over yet, as I think Reed Wilson might have a 1 or 2 more tricks in the bag, try to get to James Bickford.
He's trying to wait. You can tell that much. On the straightaways where he has a chance to get around the 29, he backs out. Instead, just pushes the truck in front through the corner. He does not want to make this move yet. You see him flirt to the inside, trying to force James into a defensive stance, but it's not working. So the 66 says, okay, I'll hang in the draft. I'll wait. I'm not going to push the envelope right now. But that's a setup that he's trying to do. A bit of a strategic mindset he has, Wilson does. Even he might bring Mario Miranda with him, but Wilson is the mastermind behind this plan to get around the 29. And we'll be into the final 2 laps. So the time is running out for Reed Wilson. He still is within striking distance, so it's not over yet. And this top 3 will be the deciding podium. Everybody 4th on back, a little too far behind. Wilson a big sang into the penultimate corner, and that opens the gap up once more.
No, that's a big word you used there, will be. I mean, these 3 could wad it up as close as they are, but I think that was a big intimidation move by Reed Wilson to say, hey, I could get up there and pass you. You better figure something out. As Reed Wilson letting Mario Miranda go by. I think Miranda, he ran the fastest lap of these 3 by about 0.2 of a second that last time by. So I think Wilson say, hey, you go get him and I'll just cash in when you go by. So Miranda ran a 1:25.2, and Bickford and Reed Wilson ran pretty close to the same lap again at a 1:25.4.5.
Miranda also had a great run out of the final corner to the front stretch. So Wilson, instead of going side by side with the 89 and losing more time to Bickford, he's making that smarter decision. Just a little bit of a high IQ play there for Wilson, where he wants to hang back and not lose more time to the leader, as the top 2 sort of sort of shuffle in this final lap if they get close together. Wilson, like you said, Decon, could just cash in, get the race win, hand it to him if these two get a little aggressive. Now, Miranda is still half a second back of Bickford, so there is more time to gain. We'll head through the final 2 corners here at Watkins Glen International and get the white flag in the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge.
You have to wonder if Reed Wilson showed his hand a little too early. If he had the opportunity, if I was in his spot, now I know what he was trying to do, I would have tried to pass him and then make James Bickford try to play some offense. But instead, it's been Bickford playing defense here as they'll take the white flag here.
White flag from the Glen into the 90, turn 1. For the final time, the 89 hops on the brakes, so does the 29. Reed Wilson with an absolute send. It is not going to get him to second. Gap remains at half a second through the S's. And the last time we used this combo in Monday Night Racing Pro Series history, it was a driver who's picked up many wins before. Shane Van Gisbergen trying to hold off a hungry and winless James Bickford at the time. The 29 was able to hold off one of the best drivers in the league to grab his first career Monday Night Racing win. But now Bickford is on the other side of the story. He's the veteran with a win. Miranda is the hungry young driver looking for his first. They get to the bus stop for the very final time. Miranda is still there. It appears Reed Wilson is a little too far back to make a story out of this. But through the final time at the carousel, Miranda will have 2 more corners to decide this Highland Homes Roofing Challenge. A look on board with the Oklahoma native. He'll have the send at the left-hander and then the right-hander to close off the race. He has one more chance. But as Bickford will hold out front, Miranda's going to have one more opportunity. He tries to send it, but it's too late. Charlotte Phoenix is back to victory lane with the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. James Bickford wins at the Glen.
That was some really stout defense by James Bickford after the pit stop cycle. I mean, that was amazing by him. He had 2 dudes all over him. He had Miranda and he had all kind. That was just so much pressure he had to deal with there, and it paid off for James at the end. He comes up with the W.
After not being able to have a top 10 finish in the first 2 races of the season, races 3 and 4 go like this. 3rd place at Michigan, 1st at Watkins Glen. James Bickford becomes the 4th different winner in season 7 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Mario Miranda, who missed last week's Gen 4 race in the Irish Hills, he comes away with 2nd. Reed Wilson, Joey Padgett complete a Team Joyride 3rd and 4th place outing. Will Rogers rounds out the top 5, but it is James Bickford who plays defense instead of offense this time and gets his 2nd career Monday Night Racing win in the same combo that he got his first. What a race for James Bickford.
Yeah, I mean, that was an excellent race by Bickford from start to finish. Again, we mentioned earlier, we didn't talk about the first half of the race, that he just appears and he leads the last half. But great job by James Bickford.
So he'll burn it down through the final corner. He'll continue his celebrations. And what a celebration as well. Yeah, he's been all over the place, and now he'll officially spin it. Well, I guess he'll still drift it around.
There he goes.
Spin it there right before the start-finish line. Proper celebration for James Bickford, who started 23rd in this race and grabs the victory here in the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge. We'll have the post-race coverage and more here from upstate New York. You're watching coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital and the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge on Podium Esports.
Mach 10? Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Checkered flag in the air here at Watkins Glen. There's a look at the start as the field raced for turn one. We had a long race after with strategy in the mix, and it's James Bigford who rolled off 23rd at the starting grid to grab his second career Monday night racing win. Mario Miranda, the rookie driver, is in second place by 0.6 of a second. Reed Wilson for Team Joyride completes a top three finish. Joey Padgett, his teammate, right behind in fourth. Will Rogers in the seventh. Great day for him after starting 12th. He brings out the rest of the top five. Pole sitter Presley Sora had a consistent night from the Glen. He finishes in P6. Connor Berry is in seventh. Adam Cabot to come home in eighth. Ryan Vargas in the 26 is ninth. And Brandon Howe for Grit Esports rounds out the top 10.
Going back through 11th place, Nick Olson coming home in 11th. He led a couple laps. Actually wasn't making a lot of friends early in the race. Alex Monteferrante finishing in 12th position. Ronnie Osper, P13. Corey Deucer, P14. Colin Fern on the white, coming to the white flag. He got turned by, I believe, Ryan Vargas, flipped through the air and told him, "You're not going to finish this bleeping race if I have anything to do with it." And he comes home 15th as he blows the motor crossing the start-finish line. Christopher Tate, P16. Gary Sexton, P17. Robbie Lyons, P18. And then 19th and 20th, Matt Stolnick and Michael Fisher. That rounds out the top 20.
Brandon Brown, who pitted late in the race, comes home in 21st. Josh Slate, the same. He comes home 22nd. Ford Martin is 23rd. At the drop of the checkered, Jordan Buster is 24th. 25th goes to Monin Rahman in the 44. Brett Baldeck is in 26th position. He's the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Corey Heim ends up one lap down in 27th despite having a strong opening to the race. DJ Cummings is 28th. He went for a tumble in the penultimate corner. Steve O'Font is 29th, and Bailey Turner got disqualified near the end of the race. He also went for a tumble in the S's in this event. So it's 30 trucks to come home to the checkered flag, and it's James Bigford who gets his second career Monday night racing win. And James, after the first two races where you could not finish in the top 10, you respond with a podium last week and a race win this week. What has the turnaround been like, and how does it feel to get back to the checkered flag at the same combo that you got your first?
Man, that was an awesome race. It was super exciting. And obviously the first two races being super speedways, wide open, it's off to the wind. So these two races I knew were going to be much more on the driver than anything else. So I was super excited for Michigan and the Gen 4 cars because we were fast. And of course, I was excited for this combination because we won it versus SVG the last time we ran it. And I think that was season 5. But absolutely amazing run from the Charlotte Phoenix Next Level Racing team, and I couldn't be more proud. I had my dad watching and spectating the entire time, so he did an awesome job kind of directing me what everybody else was doing. But what a bounce back, and got the win.
I'm sure that's a proud father there watching you get to the checkered flag here at the Glen. And talk to us about that run in the last lap. So you got given the race lead over strategy, Miranda and Wilson charging hard behind you. What was going through your mind, and did it somewhat bring up any of the memories from that season 5 race versus SVG?
I thought it was going to be like that again, except for just one more added to the mix. So I was really nervous when Reed was behind me because I knew he was really fast, and maybe he knows some tricks from watching me the first time around when we did the combination and he was on the box instead of driving. But I knew he was fast. And Mario pushing made it very difficult. I knew I was the fastest car in the field, but getting away from that draft was so difficult. And every single time I'd get a lead, it would just disappear right away. So as soon as Reed let Mario go by, I had a big sigh of relief. Mario was super fast, but just not as fast as Reed. So that made it a little less scary and a little bit more exciting because we were able to take home the win, and it wasn't too dramatic, at least not as dramatic as last time.
But it wasn't an easy win, though. You started 23rd in this race, and through qualifying, we were talking about it in the booth, the connection issues that you were facing, connecting in the session, then having some packet loss issues, and just trying to get yourself sorted and reorganized to get on the track in the first place. what does it mean now to overcome that adversity just a couple of hours ago, now to be in victory lane, stable connection through the entire race, and you get a win in this fashion?
Oh, just part of the sim racing experience. Sometimes I got home a little late from work today and was able to get on at 7:30. And with that in mind, I started loading in the session, and we were getting some security codes, so it wasn't letting me join in the session. So I had to do a little bit of programming, go through my files, and try to figure out why the anti-cheat wasn't letting me in the system. I think it was something with my RGB or something. But I ended up finding the solution, got in the session, was only able to run one lap, so I guess instead of starting dead last, we started 23rd. And I'm sure I made it exciting for not only some drivers, but if the stream was ever watching that come through the field, I knew I was really fast, and I just had to get by people as quick as I could, getting to that caution, having the best track position possible. So I'm sure I made it exciting, more exciting than it needed to be. I think we should have probably been starting the front, and that would have eliminated a lot of drama. But alas, it is what it is, and we're still able to get the win and fight from that adversity.
Can confirm it was really exciting. I think we checked in with you a couple of times throughout the race. Since we knew the storyline, you had gone into this race, you won it last time we were here in this combo. So, I mean, it was fun watching you through the field, and of course, fun watching you holding off the 89 and the 66 to the checkered flag. James, I'm sure you're very happy. I'm sure you want to continue the celebrations. Before we let you go, anybody you want to thank for tonight's stunning victory?
Oh, absolutely. Charlotte Phoenix, again, what a great organization to be a part of. Finishing up our eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series season, number 2. So hopefully going into the 3rd, and of course, Next Level Racing, they provide me the chassis that allows me to compete in races like this. So gotta thank both of them, and then just everybody who helps and supports me throughout the season. So Matt, Scott, my dad, and look forward to seeing you at the next race next week, and hopefully we can get back-to-back victories.
It's Gen 4 at Charlotte. I'm sure you're really excited for that. We're excited for it too. James, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on the win from the Glen. We'll see you in Concord, North Carolina in the sim next week. And happy Halloween too.
Oh, happy Halloween. Thank you, guys.
All right, James Bickford, his second career Monday Night Racing W comes at the very same track where he got his first. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Mario Miranda is sat down with Decon, who's got the interview for second place.
Mario, you got let go into second place with about 2 laps to go. I thought you were going to get him, but was that the plan all along? Just kind of wait in the weeds behind those two and just kind of see what happens?
Yeah, I had no intentions going up to second. I just wanted to stay in third and kind of see what they would do. I knew I was a little bit faster than Wilson, but he was keeping pace with Bickford, so I was totally content with being in third. But he made a mistake, I think, out of the last corner, and I felt like if I lifted to get back behind him, we would just lose too much time. So I took second, and I thought I had a chance to close it, but it felt like as soon as I took second place, all the grip in the rear tires went away, and the car just didn't, or the truck just didn't handle the same. I don't know if that was just nerves or placebo effect, but yeah, it was kind of hard to catch back up to him.
I mean, it seemed like a really fun combo. I mean, how much did tires make a difference over the course of the race when you pitted?
I think it was a huge difference. I took all 4 at the lap 20 break, and that put me back way in the field. But I mean, compared to the people who didn't take tires at all, I think it made a huge difference. And there's a strategy those two have that I don't know, but I think it has to do with tires. They're just so much better. I think I just saving tires. I think I was just pushing it too hard, but tires did play a huge role.
Yeah, I mean, that was, again, just a fun combo to watch. And I can't imagine it was unfun to drive at all over the course of this race. But where does this stack up from combinations that you've driven before?
It's a blast. I'm gonna be honest. Gary Sexton said they did it before, so I went on YouTube, typed in MNR, stadium trucks at the Glen, and saw that Bickford hold it off SVG one time. So did a little research beforehand, saw the strategies they were doing, and I tried to do it again. And to be honest, it's such a blast to run these cars. It got quite aggressive out there, elbows out every second of that race, but it was just a blast. It was like mixing Oklahoma dirt racing with road course racing.
Well, man, it was fun to watch. I think if you had one more lap, you might have been able to get to him and get by him. But anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I just want to thank Team Watson Racing Setups for hopping on the primary this week. They have a huge stadium truck setup shop, and those guys over there are the best. So it was so cool letting me run their logos for this race. And also shout out to Twisted Tech and OU Esports as always, and you guys in the booth.
Well, man, I appreciate you. I'm glad you made it here tonight after the rough weekend by OU football, but glad you're here with us, and you've always put on a great show every time you've been here.
I really wish you didn't bring that up. I thought I'd be able to skate through this interview without hearing that.
Well, man, I'm just busting you, man. Mario, appreciate the time. Good job.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
That was Mario Miranda, and I believe Kenneth Bueno is going to stand by with our third place finisher, Reed Wilson, and our in-race reporter.
Yeah, our in-race reporter, Reed Wilson. There's the eyes there, Reed.
Wow.
First of all, top 3 run. You were second behind James Bickford in the waning laps. You give up second to Miranda. What was going through your mind there, and talk us through the strategy to get around the 29 in the first place?
So I thought maybe I would let Mario by, and James is my friend, so I can't wreck my friend. So I was gonna let Mario wreck him, but
Okay.
Mario never did.
So it was sort of like let the bowling ball go through and then just cash in on the strike, basically. But I mean, nonetheless, you and Joey, I mean, big race for you two at Team Joyride. Joey had the pit road speeding penalty. You talked about how he sucked at the halfway mark of the race, but he came back for a top 4. You come away with a top 3. What went behind just the speed that you both had in this race? Were there any conversations you guys had, any practice, anything that helped you guys succeed over the course of the night?
I mean, you know what really sucks? Being right outside top 3, right? That still sucks. So Joey, in my book, still sucks. JoeySucks.shop. We got a deal, 10% off. Just a discount code Joey Sucks, capital letters. Grab that for you. Going into it, we kind of developed a little strategy with fuel and such, and when we were going to pit, how are you going to pit? And it worked out. It worked out perfectly, except for Joey's speeding penalty. But I had some guys to bang off of. I think Bigford was on the similar strategy. That's how we just ended up near each other.
All right, well, nonetheless, top 3 finish here at the Glen, and now you move forward. Gen 4s at Charlotte. Very different challenge on tap for you next week. So before we get through to Halloween, while we have this sort of off week for a moment before we come back, what are your thoughts about that one?
Oh, dude, Charlotte's my home track. I mean, but of course, you know, it's not real. It's on iRacing, so I'm technically not. It's, you get what I'm saying. It's everybody's home track. We can practice as much as we want there. So it's gonna be hard on tire wear. It's gonna be iffy. You just gotta have to be conservative, and keep the right front on her. I think that we're gonna be able to do that as long as we can just keep it smooth.
All right, well, it's a great finish here from the Glen. Before we let you go, Reed, anybody you want to thank for the top 3 run tonight?
Well, once again, just another shameless plug, JoeySucks.shop. We sold a lot of merch last week. We keep selling this. We'll have a real-life Xfinity car with JoeySucks.shop on the hood. How about that? How about that one? We sell 5,000 t-shirts. JoeySucks.shop Xfinity car. The deal's already made. We just got to get the selling done. And of course, thank my girlfriend. She's been really supportive. She lets me sit in here for 4 hours and do play video games. And my parents back home for putting me in a bandolero at 7 years old.
Well, that's awesome, Reed. I certainly am going to be waiting for that GoFundMe or Kickstarter for that JoeySucks.shop. To be on that Xfinity Series car, I cannot wait for it. It'll be a lot of fun. Reed, we certainly appreciate the time as always. Thank you for being our in-race reporter. Congratulations on the top 3 finish. We'll see you at your home track, Charlotte Motor Speedway, next week.
Thank you, buddy. See you there.
So back on Joey Sucks. I guess Reed Wilson is never going to live that down. That brand is probably going to stay around for a little bit longer. Probably going to have a Joey Sucksinator I'll make myself. That will sort of elevate the brand later on in the season. But I mean, Dylan, another non-disappointing race from the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. It's always a banger whenever we put this combo forth on the Monday night racing schedule. And, that race to the finish, very unpredictable. You saw a lot of notes from pit road. Strategy certainly came into the fold as well. But James Bickford still, I think he's sort of simmering off the heat from that Summer Series outing where he won a couple of races in a row. Now he's starting to tick off at the right time, and that matters most when you talk about points racing and consistency through the latter half of the regular season.
Yeah, he's not too bad at this iRacing thing, and he had a good job tonight. James is always one of the better guys that you'll see race. But again, you had a lot of usual suspects up there. Mario Miranda, Presley Sora, Ryan Vargas was up there a little bit. Brandon Howe led a little bit. I mean, you had a bunch of your normal guys that you see everywhere that were making appearances up front, and it seems like a reoccurring trend. We're seeing the cream rise to the top over the course of this season, as you kind of thought that you would, but it's not really just the same names every week, but it's pretty close.
4 different names over the first 4 races, and that is the 4th time in Monday Night Race history that it's ever happened in the series. And we go to next week, Gen 4s once again, but this time at the 1.5 mile at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Dylan, we saw our first bit of Gen 4 action with Michigan. What do we expect next week?
A lot of slipping, a lot of sliding, a lot of everything there. It's going to be a lot of not just slick racing, depending on how the track temperature is, but it's going to be fun. That Gen 4 car is hard to beat when it's at a track like this.
A 1.5 miler through the midway portion of the regular season. We continue to wind things down, but from Watkins Glen, it's James Bickford capturing his 2nd career Monday Night Racing win here at the Glen. So for Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, for Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in Race Control, for Gary Sexton at Podium Esports, our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Arbanon on Podium Esports social media, and for our crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Ryan Bauer, and for my colleague in the booth Dylan Connolly, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching our broadcast of the Highland Homes Roofing Challenge. Congratulations to James Bickford. We'll see you next Monday night with the Gen 4s at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Until then, have a happy and safe Halloween evening.